What's up everyone, how are you all? Today we are back with hot blazing Naruto story. What if Naruto hits the bottom of the ravine? If you enjoy then please like, share and do comments. And also check the description to original creator of this beautiful creation. Almost every adult citizen, both shinobi and civilian, are aware that Uzumaki Naruto is the Jinchuriki of the terrifying Kyuubi no Kitsune. Adults would force their children to not associate themselves with the boy. Some even chose to openly insult and assault the boy. Hence, the Sandaime Hokage enforced a law seemingly to have been made from iron itself. The law states that if ever anyone, reveal the status of Uzumaki Naruto to himself and even others, they will be given death right where they stand. The rule was then dropped like an iron fist. Everyone was taken aback by the level of strictness coming from the Hokage. They thought that the old man was senile, but they were mistaken. With about 80% of Konoha's population, the ones who were aware of Naruto's status, being held back by this particular and death guarantee law, everyone are now far more subtle when it comes to relieving their stress upon the Jinchuriki. An arranged kidnapping would sometimes be planned by the people from the wealthy civilian family. Some would even hire professional thieves to steal everything that the boy owns just for the sake of it. In short, Naruto's life as a child is a living hell. No small amount of sympathy was given to him, a mere 6-year-old boy with no knowledge for his kinsman's hate. To those who chose not to physically abuse the boy, they will abuse him in a way that is sickening and unlawful. But regardless, the boy grew up. He grew up until an age that he could finally fend for himself. He even entered the academy too. As more and more civilians learned of their so-called demon brat entering the academy, their assault became less and less as time passed by. He managed to pass the academy, gaining the lowest rank there is in the ninja ranking system, Genin. He's a Genin, and his forehead protector bearing the symbol of the Leaf Village is there framed on his forehead proudly. If there is a reason why the villagers do not assault him anymore, it would be because of his occupation. A civilian attacking a shinobi is a serious crime offense. Even those with status could not escape this law, much less the secrecy of the Kyuubi. But upon passing, the boy finally learned the truth about his shadow. He finally knew the reason as to why people keep on cursing his name, spit at his feet and assaulting him endlessly ever since he's little. He is the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi no Kitsune. All it took for him to know about this was a confession from a foolish man. Mizuki, God knows what happened to him ever since that incident. But that all happened in the past, just like most of the things in the past, Naruto learned to forget. But forgiving is hard, way harder. He learned that there are things that are, also, harder to do other than forgiving. Yet hating is just as easy as it is to not forgive. He hated Zabuza for his apparent uncaring attitude towards Haku. He hated the smug bastard Uchiha for always acting so smug. He hated those who hurt him. But most of all, he hates the being living inside of him. The Kyuubi, from what little lecture that he managed to hear at the academy, is a demon. It is. He heard stories of how it managed to sweep mountains with only one tail and how its mere voice managed to cause tsunamis from the far oceans, and he contained all of that in him. Naruto has fears. He fears. But what is there to fear when he had a demonic being twice taller than the Hokage mountain, with powers that could literally sweep clean an entire country with only a brush of its hands and causing both tsunamis and earthquake at will? It took him this far to realize that answer, the one that he should fear most is himself. Hey, perverted sage. When will you teach me something cool? Come on, I'm dying of boredom right here. A whiny voice complained in the middle of the simmering heat of fire country. Huh? An older and gruffer voice sighed out for what seemed to be the umpteenth time that day. Kid, if you don't stop your complaining, I'll cancel our deal right here, right now. The threat that the older man gave was half serious and half not. The kid's complaining has gotten to a level where it's enough for him to jump and leave the kid alone in the middle of the heat-woven forest. Drenched in sweat, Jiraiya couldn't choose which one is more irritating. Naruto's complaining or the heat. Ah, shut up ya perv. You promised that you'll train me, and don't you dare back away from it, you peeking old man. Definitely the boy's complaining. Jiraiya took his not-so-official apprentice deeper into the thick and wide forest of fire country, but the one they're in is close to a shinobi's training ground. It would really be a bother to go deeper into the forest at a day like this. The dampness on beneath his sleeves are starting to feel gross. But Naruto is tireless. The kid had probably wake up at around 6 or 5 in the morning, yet he still has enough energy to last till now. Talk about stamina freaks. It's just a few more walks from here, kid. We'll be where I want us to be in an hour or two. Scouting ahead, Jiraiya remembered vividly that this is the direction that they're supposed to take. It should be around a few kilometers of ground that they should cover before they reach their destination. An hour? Oh man, shut up kid, just follow me if you want to learn something cool. At that, the noisy and most obnoxious teen shut up. Jiraiya congratulated himself for being able to shut the most noisy and energetic brat in Konoha up. So the old sage and the young genin continued their trekking for a few more kilometers, and before they knew it, an hour has passed. Jiraiya knew that they're getting closer and closer towards their destination, and the more ground they cover, the more Naruto's patience grew short. Naruto had been waiting at the guy's designated location ever since this morning at 5:30. But the pervert's as tardy as Kakashi. He was late for about an hour, and it's obvious what his reasons was, but it's still damn frustrating. If they were to journey a little bit earlier, then they wouldn't have to suffer from this heat. Naruto knew it. Still, what's done is done. It can't be changed. Now, he's stuck as a lost puppy to this pervert. But Naruto knew that this pervert's crazy strong. The way he defeated that closet perv Ebisu, it was only with a single look of his eye. He also summons toads. Isn't that awesome? As the thoughts of more awesome skills that the pervert could teach him beginning to flood his brain, Naruto's mood increased gradually. But still, why is the pervert bringing him this far down into the forest? Naruto knew that the pervert's a sage, he got it. Still, was distance really the matter here? Or is it just the pervert being too paranoid that he might screw up? He learned how to do water walking already, so what will the pervert teach him? Okay brat, we're here. At the sound of Jiraiya's voice, the blonde-haired Jinchuriki dropped to the ground flat on his back. The white-haired sage chuckled before setting down his pack, taking a seat in front of the spread-eagled boy with his legs crossed on the ground. Sit up straight kid, we ain't here to kid around. If that's a pun then it's a terrible one. Wait, that rhymes. I'm so writing that one down. The boy pulled out a notepad seemingly out of nowhere, and he began scribbling what he had said earlier. The white-haired toad sage could only laugh in amusement as he watched the scene unfolds before his eyes. This kid got potential all right. Ha ha ha. He shook his head while wiping a tear from one of his eyes. Okay kid, let's get serious now. Pulling out piece of paper from his pocket, the sage then brought the paper close to his eyes, up to an eye's level. Let's see, then he crumpled said paper before throwing it into the wind. Well, my training manual sucks. Then, let's get straight into the fun thing. A wide grin is laid spread on his face. Naruto couldn't contain his excitement. The boy is showing the same grin that his master is showing him. The boy's rubbing his palms together. The thoughts of cool and powerful techniques began to flood his mind. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Jiraiya allowed himself to nod sophisticatedly. Yes, yes. Get excited kid, cuz you'll be taught directly by the magnificent and gutsy toad sage of Mount Mobioku himself. The ever-so-gallant Jiraiya-sama. He did his gallant pose with a face so smug that it would make a certain one-eyed and bandaged man cringe in pain. Just get on with it you perverted sage. We don't have time to lose. Naruto pointed a finger at the white-haired sage, his grin spreading wider. I'll need to train as quick and as efficient as I can to beat that smug and arrogant white-eyed bastard. After what he did to Hinata, I can't allow that. The boy's words are so powerful that it shook the air around him for a brief second. The smile on Jiraiya's face softened. The old toad sage shook his head with his arms crossed and eyes closed. Minato, this is your son right here. You should be proud of him. He opened his eyes once again, this time his own determination mixing in. Well, what are you sitting over there for kid? Come here and let me teach you a ton of awesome jutsu that will make that Hyuga regret that he ever messed with you. That day, the bond of master and apprentice was formed. You fucking old pervert. Until said master send you flying across the forest and into a deep and bottomless cliff. Naruto did not even know what to say. As he fell into this deep and bottomless pit, all he could do is remember what the old pervert told him. Naruto, there will be a time where you need to use the Kyuubi's chakra to protect yourself. Protect myself my aasss. There's no time to think. He needs to act quick. Composing himself, Naruto managed to switch his position, yes, even as he's falling, vertically. He tried to touch the cliff walls with the sole of sandals. He channeled his chakra into his feet, but it's futile. The walls are too slippery, he can't stick when he's falling down like this. As time went by, the closer he is to the bottom and the closer he is to the bottom, the more he'll need to use the bastard fox's power. Come on, you gigantic mass of fur. Gimme your chakra or else we'll end up as paste. The boy shouted to his tenant living inside of him. It's you who will end up as paste boy, now be quiet and fall. You won't die. A deep and echoing voice vibrates from the inner depths of his mind. Kyuubi, it left Naruto speechless. Even as he's falling, he still can't believe that the fox would answer him just like that. Hey, what do you mean I won't die, huh? I'm falling right now, you blind furbag, shouted the falling boy angrily. I know, the Kyuubi thundered from within its host's mind. The fox let out what seems to be deep sigh. Trust me on this, boy. You won't die. Even if you die, I could possess your body and kill everyone once I'm in full control. Before Naruto could even shout, he went splat, like that. Meanwhile, now, people do pretty dumb shit. They do dumb shit. Sometimes, it's so dumb that it'll make them regret that they've ever done it in the first place. Right now, Jiraiya is one of those people. He had done the dumbest, stupidest, idiotic, and most foolish thing he had ever done in his life ever since he missed the chance of peeking on Tsunade while she's in the hot springs. He just gutted his godson, sending him all the way to a bottomless cliff 20 kilometers from where they were before. Now, said godson is down there inside the cliff falling. Or worst, splattered on the bottom. Cold sweat runs down Jiraiya's forehead, a cold sensation runs down his spine. Fuck. Yup, that's him right now. Sensei will kill me, the man exclaimed as if it's the most urgent thing in the world. Well, the most urgent thing in the world is to save his falling godson down there. But before saving his pupil, Jiraiya bit his thumb before doing a series of hand seals and eventually slamming the palm with the bloodied thumb to the ground. A small plume of smoke burst to existence, and once it clears, and not so small, at least not for the normal ones, Toad was revealed. Said Toad was donned in a sleeveless blue jacket. The orange Toad looked around before finding his summoner. Oh, it's the old pervert. The Toad points his webbed finger at the so-called old pervert. Where have you been? Dad's been wanting to meet you, ya know. He said something about having a drink, Toge. Hey. What are ya doing, ya old perv? The Toad complained when he was lifted off the ground by the collar of his jacket. Gamakichi was about to shout some more until he saw the look on Jiraiya's face. It looked serious. Not the scary kind of serious, but the urgent one of serious. Like the face that his brother would make when their mother forgot to make their favorite food. Whoa. Chill out, old dude, there ain't nothing. No time. Jiraiya literally shouted in front of the Toad's face. He dropped the Toad down to the ground, much to the latter's annoyance. I want you to go to the Sandaime and tell me that I dropped a certain blonde-haired kid into a cliff. Quick, go now. The man shouted, losing his patience. Whoa, you dropped a kid down there? The young summoning Toad shouted incredulously while pointing at the black abyssal cliff right beside them. Down there, as in down into the cliff? Yeah, what the hell, old dude, we thought you were cool. If there's a table right here and there, Jiraiya would flip it. I know I screwed up, so could you please go to the Hokage now? Taken aback by the man's shouting, Gamakichi nodded hurriedly. Oh, okay. The young Toad disappeared into a plume of smoke, just like when he was summoned here. Now, the only one left is Jiraiya alone. The white-haired sage stared down into the abyssal cliff with worry, both for his life and the brat's. I better hope the kid lives through all this. And me too. Without further hesitation or whatsoever, Jiraiya jumped down the cliff. He did what now? That morning, no one had ever heard the Sandaime Hokage scream so loud. Sarutobi Hiruzen, the Sandaime Hokage of the Leaf Village, was rarely seen getting angry. The aged Kage of the Leaf Village is now panting and breathing heavily. He'd just heard the most shocking news there is for him. The old Kage gripped the edge of his desk with a flurry of emotions, mostly anger and panic, flowing inside of him. Why yeah, that's what he told me, like, for real. Gamakichi replied to the cage to support and guarantee his earlier claim. He has heard many things about the Sandaime Hokage. Aside from the fact that the old cage is the summoner of the great Monkey King, Enma, himself, the aged cage is also famous for being the current holder of the Toad summoning scroll. Read, Jiraiya, tell me where he is right now. That foolish student of mine. If Hiruzen could solve all of his problems just by blinking, his migraine would be the next thing on the list. He's checking up on this kid that he pushed down the cliff, like, right now. He just sent me here to deliver you the message. The young Toad explained as best as he could, not losing an ounce of nervousness for a bit. Hiruzen clenched his thin bone-like palms into fists. But everyone knows what lies inside that old and senile-looking facade of the Sandaime. The Kami no Shinobi himself. Releasing a long and huge sigh, the aged and leader of the Sarutobi clan pinched the bridge of his nose. Thank you for telling me this, Gama-kun. He thanked the young jacket-wearing Toad. You can dismiss yourself for now. Yes sir. With that, Gamakichi is no longer needed. Sarutobi knows what to do first. And even if Naruto's safety is top priority, he could not resist the urge to send his pupil flying from Fire Country all the way around the remaining 4 countries and back. But for now, he will stick with helping his pupil finding and ensuring Naruto's safety first. Anbu. With a shout, 2 masked figures dressed in black appeared out of thin air right next to the Sarutobi. One of them, the one standing on the right, has a long purple hair while the other one has short hair. It's obvious to distinguish who is female and who is male. Cat, Ox, I want you to send a full team towards Jiraiya's location ASAP. Bring in the best medic team there is, you will need them. Yes sir. Then the 2 Anbu members disappeared in a flurry of leaves, leaving their cage behind. Hiruzen slumped down his chair. He could feel the cushioning of the chair pressed against him, showing just how far he'd slumped into the chair. Again, if Hiruzen could solve all of his trouble with just a blink of an eye, he would solve this matter right now. Jiraiya, you better hope that he is safe. On his way towards the bottom of the slippery and dark cliff, Jiraiya could feel his entire being shudder, causing himself to nearly fall. The man was quick to his feet as he is quick to proclaim himself as a pervert. It took Jiraiya a quite considerable amount of time just to climb down this far, makes him deader inside if he thinks that Naruto is already at the bottom of this god-forsaken cliff. So the old Toad sage climbed down deeper and deeper, using the stalactites protruding from the walls to make his way down. Oi, Naruto, you okay? The man tried to call out. Damn it kid, please. Even if he knew that his plea is useless at this moment, Jiraiya couldn't stop himself from doing so. He finally made it to the bottom after a lot of jumping and falling. He reached the sandy and stony surface of the cliff. He looked around, and it turns out that this cliff's not as dark as he thought it would be. There are these glowing mushrooms that grows on the narrow cracks on every edge of the cliff's walls. He could get vision, but it's not good. Searching around, he got a whiff of something. Something smells like iron. Jiraiya's blood grew cold. He dashed towards where the sense of smell was strongest, his ear racing endlessly. When he arrived, Jiraiya could not hold himself from emptying his stomach right where he's standing. He threw up vomit at the sight he'd just seen. After getting his bearings, which took a lot of time, he managed to slowly and shakily look at the source of the fresh-smelling smell. NNN Naruto. He whispered the name out in guilt, fear and confusion. Is that pile of meat and guts on the ground his godson? Everything was quiet, no sound, no light, nothing. Naruto, he could feel himself floating in a space of emptiness, devoid of any feeling. He couldn't feel pain, his feet, arms, even head. All he could see is this blackness in front of him. Strange, he remembered hearing from the academy that the human mind would panic the moment they wake up when they see nothing but darkness surrounding. He's not scared though, he's just calm, he's at peace, he's chilled. But where is he exactly? You're in Limbo, boy. Limbo, isn't that a name of a game? Huh, no you dumb hairless ape. Limbo is a place where you useless hairless apes would be when crossing death. Wait, death? Isn't he not supposed to die? Isn't that what the Kyuubi said? Indeed, I did say that you won't die. And ta-ta, you're still not dead. You are merely in a death-like state, even if you are an inch next to it. So, where is he exactly? You're in Limbo. There's really no way out from here really. Then he's as good as dead. PSSH, you know nothing about Death Boy. I'm here sealed by Death himself. Oh, so now you're quiet. Okay, so being quiet does not suits you, boy. Come, try and will yourself to move, I'm sure that you will be able to. As the voice of the Kyuubi said, he willed himself to move. Slowly, he noticed that he's floating forward. He tried to float backwards, sideways, up, down. There isn't really middle when floating, because if he saw something upside down, it won't be like that to others. Wait, now how on earth did he know about that? It must be this place. Limbo's the only place where you mortals enter to gather before you die. So this place must have picked up the knowledge of those who've been here before. Is it? As he floats around, he began to wonder. Continuously, his mind began to be filled with interesting thoughts, memories and information. But there are also some unpleasant, sickening and terrible ones. He hopes that he'll find a way out from here so that he could resume his training. Oh, not before kicking the old pervert's ass. Yeah, about kicking the pervert's ass, ahem. You're paste. You're nothing but a paste of flesh and innards right now. All of your blood is slowly seeping from what's left of your body. Your flesh are now fresh patties for the worms and bugs to eat, and your organs are useless for donors. He's dead? No, you're not dead. You're near death. He's confused. Hey, not only you, boy. Is he even retaining a physical form right now? Is he even Uzumaki Naruto? With all of this thoughts, memories, knowledge, inside of him, Naruto can't be too sure anymore. No, he is Uzumaki Naruto. He is Uzumaki Naruto, genin of the Hidden Leaf Village, and is going to face Hyuga Neji in 9 days starting from tomorrow. Rumble rumble. Ooh, boy, you feeling what I'm feeling? The place is shaking? No, the air is shaking? Nope, everything's shaking, kid, look. He looked around. To his horror and confusion, cracks started to appear on the darkness and a bright white light seeps through those cracks appearing on the walls of black. The cracks grew in numbers and size. Naruto could not stop himself from panicking. Then slowly, those cracks shatters, leaving behind nothing old, but something new. Before him is a traditional Eastern-styled building made of wood. But what caught his attention first was the large, red torii gate standing in front of him. Kit, you hear me? Kit, yeah? Kyuubi, is that you? He noticed that he could finally speak. He looked at himself, noticing that he still has his physical body. Where are we, Kyuubi? I don't know, Kit. I don't know. Looking around, he's in this dirt road surrounded by nothing but trees. He looked up and noticed that the sky's a morning and light blue color. It might look natural, but something feels off. He can't quite grasp it, but something feels off. He soon found his focus returning to the building in front of him. Now that he had gotten a good look of it, is this building a shrine, perhaps? The torii gate gave it away, and so does the bells and offering box in front of the main shrine. Hey, Kyuubi, what should I do? The boy asked his inner tenant. I don't know, Kit. Try to walk into the shrine. Someone might be in there, probably. Yeah, probably. Regardless, the Uzumaki made his way into the shrine's ground, passing by the torii gate. The shrine is not big, since it's only the main shrine. He's sure that he isn't supposed to tread into holy grounds with his sandals on, but God will have to excuse him at the moment. He stepped into the shrine building, where the room is nothing but dark. He stepped in deeper into the shrine building, deeper into the dark room. The sudden draft of wind hit right in the collarbone, causing him to shiver out of reflex and instincts. Just what is this place? Oomph. What the, did I just hit some? His shoulder touched something incredibly soft. He tried waving his hands around, curious as to what was it that he touched before. PWWNNN. I can't exactly tell what this is, but, okay, I don't have a clue. Naruto muttered to himself, yet he did not cease doing what he's doing. PWWNNN. Kit, I think I know what it is. Excuse me, what you are touching? No, fondling. Huh? Was the intelligent reply. The Kyuubi resisted to do a face palm. Kit, look up. And Naruto did. And oh boy, the look on his face is priceless. After all, it is the first time for him to see a busty naked woman tied to the ceiling with nothing but those ropes holding her in place. Wait, a busty naked woman tied to the ceiling? Believe it or not, Naruto could not believe his own eyes. There is a busty naked woman tied to the ceiling. His eyes noticed that his hands are still placed on the woman's ample assets. The sudden realization caused him to jump back, but only to hit his head due to the short distance between the floor and the ceiling. Oh whoa 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 wow. The Uzumaki groaned out in pain as he steadily made his way back to his own 2 feet. Naruto's face turned red when he remembered that there is a busty naked woman tied to the ceiling with nothing but ropes. But if there is one thing that he should say, is that she's beautiful. She has a long flowing red hair that shines like ruby in this poorly lit room. Her skin are pale, so pale that it's easy for him to look at her even in this dim room. She's no doubt taller than him. He could already tell even without her standing here. And her figure's a slim and slender hourglass type. Even the Kyuubi speechless. As a healthy teenage boy, Naruto would react. Not only there, but also in his mind. But thankfully, the boy has a strong mind. He's quick to realize that this isn't the time for him to be sitting and, is it peeking if she's tied up to the ceiling without him knowing? Anyway, he needs to get her down quick. He reached up, undoing whatever knots and ropes that were holding her onto the ceiling. Whoa, Naruto was surprised to find that she's lighter than what she'd imagined. Maybe she looks bigger just because of her height? Still, his top priority is to escape from this place with this woman. But before that, Naruto zipped off his orange jacket and draping it over the woman's body. With his cheeks flushed red, Naruto tried his best to ignore whatever thoughts that are running in his mind. Bad thoughts. Now, his top priority is to escape this place with this woman, but how? Kid, I can feel a sudden burst of chakra coming from outside the shrine. The fox suddenly informed. I don't know what it is, but it's worth checking out. Sure, just let me carry her, right, there. He settled in for a bridal carry since he's shorter than her. A piggyback would be hard to pull off. So he'll stick with the simplest and quickest method there is. He exits the shrine with the unconscious woman in his arms. He walked towards the torii gates and from there he can saw a rift in the air seemingly to have been made from blue flames erupted into existence. Kyuubi, what is that? Naruto asked aloud, wondering what the phenomenon is. It's chakra, it's made of chakra. I don't know what it exactly is though, try walking towards it. The mass being of chakra suggested. Naruto felt weird taking directions from a mountain-sized fox living inside his belly. Hey, but he'll have to trust the fox on this. Without further thoughts nor words, Naruto sped off to the source of his interest. As he carried the unconscious woman in his arms, he noticed that the blue flames are getting smaller and smaller. Naruto did not know why, but the smaller the flames get, the faster he's moving. Kid, get to those flames quick. Why? It's our only escape. Naruto did not stop running. In fact, his running became more and more rigid. How did you know? I thought that you had no idea as to what that thing is. Just trust me if you want to get out from this god-forsaken place. TCH. Well, full speed mode. Woo. He jumped into the blue flaming phenomenon, in where he is swallowed by blue flames and out of existence from that very plane. The blue flames soon followed, completely disappearing. You sent your pupil flying down into this cliff for training? Yes, I was old and foolish, what could I say? If Anbu masks could display emotion, the Anbu who questioned Jiraiya would be standing with his mouth wide open. If Jiraiya could fake being old, he could get away with this with minor charges. He'll still feel guilty though. Jiraiya-sama, I cannot say for sure on what happened, but I'm afraid I must take you to Konoha, as a prisoner. You have killed one of Konoha's law of killing a fellow shinobi. For that, you will be stripped from your rank and be sentenced to prison life. Trust him, prison the least of his worry. His sensei, however, Jiraiya shuddered to think. The old sage's eyes drifted towards the plastic-covered corpse that was once Uzumaki Naruto. Anbu team arrived a few minutes back, and he's in the middle of question right now. Medic team was useless since, well, there's nothing to fix when you're paced. Jiraiya never knew that this will happen. The boy was supposed to summon Bunta and make him proud. Poof, just like that. But no, it had to be like this. Please come with us, Jiraiya-sama, please don't try to resist. The ANBUs have every right to be nervous. This is one of the Sannin they're taking prisoner here. Jiraiya sighed, still feeling the miserable sensation of guilt in his system. He raised his hands, surrendering with his head bowed to the ground. A lone tear escaped his eyes, falling to the ground. Sorry, Minato, he whispered. Minato? You should be saying sorry to me, you perverted hermit. Jiraiya looked up, seemingly to the heavens above. Brat, is that you? I want to say that I'm sorry for this. I really am. I know that I killed you in the most embarrassing way there is, but don't haunt me, okay? Haunt you? I'm dying to kick your ass, you old shit. Even in death, he's still a brat, huh? What happened with the… Jiraiya noticed that the Anbu guards let go of his hands, but why? Well, the reason's there in front of him. There, standing in front of him, is Uzumaki Naruto himself with a pissed-off look on his face. And also, a woman. Naked, with huge boobs, in his arms. Jiraiya, he was scared shitless. But the first thing he did was, he fell to the ground, bowing his head low in a worshipping motion. He survived death and now he returns with a hottie in his arms. The man slowly turned his view towards the heavens above, tears running down freely from his eyes. Your son is truly something, Minato, he whispered. Oi, don't ignore me, ya old perv. Help me. At the blonde's words, every single Anbu present enclosed towards the blonde with their swords raised. Naruto noticed this and he backed away while holding the woman protectively in his arms. Whoa, what's with the Anbu, ya perv? Jiraiya was soon quick to rejoin the land of normalities. Naruto, you're alive? But, how? You were. The man's words and mind's a mess right now. He can't even speak straight. Paste? Yeah, I kinda figured that out. But, hey, I'm back to myself now, so can you please let these ANBUs off from me? I'm carrying someone here, damn it. The Uzumaki growled. Anbu, stand down. At Jiraiya's order, not all of the ANBUs did as he told them to. The brat's still alive. I did not kill anyone, so as the Toad Sage of Konoha, I order you all to stand down. Now, all of them are on standby. Jiraiya walked up to the blonde-haired boy, still unsure of what to say. Kid, what happened? Who is this girl and… Shush, Naruto shushed him. I don't know, but we need to get this girl to the hospital and get her checked, now. The ANBUs moved into scene, and they all soon exit the cliff depths. Naruto is still carrying the woman in his arms. He, even to his own confusion, refuses to let the ANBUs carry her. Just, who is she? Whenever he would take a small glance on her soft face, he would feel as if he'd been through countless hardships and setbacks many times and endured them with all he had. Just who is this girl? That day, Naruto has changed the world without him knowing it. You pushed him off from a cliff, Jiraiya. Do you think I can trust him with you again? It wasn't supposed to happen, sensei. I thought that the boy would surely summon Bunta. Then you should have chosen a better method. I did not fill your brain with dust after all those years, did I not? Naruto thought that it was a great idea to tell about what happened to the old man. It's not like he won't know about it, but now, he almost felt sorry for the old pervert. Almost. Currently in the Hokage's office, Naruto was having a first-class seat watching the old man and the old pervert bickering and arguing like father and son, or a pair of old men. Meh, whatever way works. Naruto felt uncomfortable, but not from the obviously tense atmosphere in the air. In fact, the moment they took her away from him, he felt strangely uncomfortable. It's hard to describe what this uncomfortable feeling he's currently feeling, but if he were to connect lines between this and that, he'll have to describe the feeling as insecurity. He's feeling insecure? Now he's confused. Why on earth would he feel insecure at this exact moment? He's with two of the world's strongest shinobi in one room right now. Even if said strongest shinobis are current bickering. But how or why is he feeling insecurity all of a sudden? No, the real question is, why is he uncomfortable without her around? Along with that, he has more and more questions. Like, who is she? Where was he when he's in that cliff? He was sure he was dead, then why is he still alive? Those are some of the more important questions that left him in a state of dilemma. He then remembered. The Kyuubi. Don't ask me, I'm just as clueless as you are right now. All I know is that you won't die, that's all. The giant being in the most inner depths of his mind replied through their link. The Kyuubi's tone was confused and clueless, and perhaps Naruto will have to delay some questions for later. But, how did you know that I won't die, exactly? Now that's the 5 billion Ryo question. How did I know? I don't know. The being of chakra answered flatly. At that very moment, all that I know is that you won't die even after becoming meat paste stuck to the ground. But limbo. I felt that we were there the moment I realized where we are. So how? I mean, it just doesn't make sense if I put my mind into it. The blonde teen was lost. He's totally and utterly lost. The nine-tailed fox inside of his mind snorted out of pure amusement, and its host's short-tracked mind. Do you think what has transpired made sense? Keeping the fact that your so-called sensei did send you down a cliff, you're suddenly in limbo and in a shrine-like place, thing. What's more, you got to meet a major vixen tied up to the ceiling of said shrine. Sounds like a bad story plot to me. True, what the fox is saying is true. It just doesn't make any sense. He was sure he was dead. No human, shinobi or not, would survive a fall that high and after becoming a literal paste of meat. He doubted that even with the fox's power, it would be able to pull him back into shape again. True. So now, to sum it all up, the question is this. What exactly happened to him? His mind is still. He's completely deaf to the arguing pair in the background. All of the things he deemed unimportant were cast aside by him. He's having a lot in his mind that he needs it to have. It's all jumbled and messed up. These things did happen to him, but there must a cause as to why he experienced, and is experiencing, all of this, right? He supposed that the only to get his answers answered is for him to meet this woman who he found in that shrine before. Naruto? But she's in the hospital. She wasn't even conscious. He didn't have time to check for her pulse or anything, since the Anbu carried her away the moment he gave her to them. He gave her to them. Naruto grimaced when he rephrased that sentence in his mind. It sounds so wrong that it's increasing this uncomfortable feeling in his chest. Just, why is he feeling like this? Oi, Naruto? She's definitely involved in all of this, why wouldn't she? He did found her all tied up and tangled up, and the next thing he knew, poof, he's right there in the cliff's bottom with said girl in his arms. She still has his jacket too. Naruto-kun. The loud and sudden voice of the Sandame snapped the blonde genin out from his inner conflict. Naruto turned towards the leader of his village with a blank look on his face. The aged Kage sighed deeply. He took a moment to rub his temples. Sometimes, there are just times where life gives you bad lemons that you can't make lemonade with. Please, take a sit. Hirazen's wrinkled hand gestured towards the empty chair in front of his desk. From the stern and serious look the old man is giving him, Naruto doesn't have a choice. The orange, currently black since he's only wearing his muscle shirt, wearing teen took a few steps to reach his seat, before eventually slumping back to the chair. Naruto blinked once, twice, thrice. He knew what's coming up next. What exactly happened, my boy? Hirazen asked with a voice so commanding that it sent chills down the boy's spine. Jiraiya is no better. He'd gotten a lecture from his sensei and he'll have a punishment following later on. The third fire shadow of Konoha looked at Naruto with his thin and shriveled eyes. He wants him to be honest. And he's going to be without even him wanting to. The young teen rubbed the back of his head as a sign to show his own confusion and cluelessness to all of this. I don't know Ji-chan, it was so fast. Then he gave a sour look to the white-haired toad. After he sent me flying kilometers away into a cliff, I began falling. It wasn't supposed to. The toad sage was not allowed to defend himself. His sensei's palm was there to stop him from speaking further. Please, continue, Naruto-kun. The Sarutobi gestured to the genin. Naruto nodded, a little bit pleased that the pervert got scolded. Okay, so I was falling and I immediately do what the pervert wanted me to do all along. I tried to get access to the Kyuubi's chakra, but before I could even demand more from it, I went splat. Both Hirazen and Jiraiya cringed. To the ground. Is that it? Then, how are you able to be here right now? No matter how Hirazen don't want to say it, he knew that it's true. We're dead, Naruto. You were carcass when Jiraiya found you on the ground. How were you able to return back? Hirazen asked. Jiraiya too is eager to know. Because after all his years of traveling, he'd never met someone who could return back so suddenly after becoming minced meat. Not even Orochimaru. To the Hokage's further dilemma, and Naruto's own, the blonde-haired teen shook his head. I don't know, but that's not all that's happened when I became a paste. The two older men in the room leaned in to get a clearer understanding of what's to come from Naruto's mouth. After I died, I was in limbo. Please don't say anything yet, pervert, I wasn't done. Jiraiya was about to speak and ask, but Naruto's tone of voice stopped him entirely. Okay, so where was I? Oh, limbo. So after I went splat I found myself in limbo, at least that's what the fox told me. Wait, this time, it's the Hokage who interrupted. The Kyuubi told you? You spoke to it? His tone sounded unbelieving. But Naruto can't really blame the old man. He's the one experiencing all of this and he's as confused as the old man is right now. You actually communicate with it? Did it? Hiruzen left it hanging. Getting the point, Naruto shook his head in negative. No, it didn't promise me anything or like that. As I've said before, I was paced before I could even demand its power. So back to Limbo, the fox told me that I was in Limbo, a place where humans, or as the fox would say, mortals, be when we are going to die. I was dead, just a few inches away from it, but suddenly, everything began to get shaky. Shaky? The white-haired toad sage parroted what the boy said. Yeah, shaky. Nodding his head, Naruto knows no other way on how to describe what he felt when he's in limbo. Everything started to shake, I was floating in the darkness. I can't feel or speak, really. Then after the shaking, all the darkness around me started to crack, then they collapse. At this point, it might start to get more and more absurd. When my vision cleared, I can finally talk and walk, I can feel my body again. But I'm in a whole new place. Jiraiya and the eldest Sarutobi listened in carefully, eager to know what happens next. It might just sound like the babbling of mentally unstable person, but they know what comes out from Naruto's mouth is true. Even if he chose to hide it, it's for them to ask further later on. I was in a place of some sort, standing on a dirt road surrounded by trees. A few feet away from me was a shrine, I think, that's what the Kyuubi said, but whatever. So the first thing I did was to look around this shrine. Maybe I'll find someone who'll tell me where the heck I was. But when I stepped into the shrine, he looked away, a pink tint appearing on his cheeks. I found her. The Sarutobi blinked. You found her? You mean the woman in the report? Yeah, she was unconscious when I found her. After finding her, the Kyuubi told me that it felt a sudden presence of chakra from outside. I immediately rushed outside with her, still unconscious, to find this pillar of blue flame-like thing appearing in mid-air. Without further thinking, I jumped into the flames and, you know what happened afterwards. So you're telling me is that you died, went to limbo, went to this shrine, meet a total hottie and then you went through a fire and finally returning here to the land of the living? Jiraiya asked, still trying to process what was told by the blonde teen. Yup. Blue eyes glares sharply. No thanks to you, you old pervert. Hiruzen sighed. He's getting older and older, yet there he's still dealing with mind-stressing situations like this. Maybe this job has gotten the best of him? Putting all things aside, he has no choice but to trust Naruto fully on this one. Because after he heard what the boy said, he got no other choice but to believe the kid. This is as absurd as it could get, trust him, but the more absurd it is, the easier it is for him to believe him. Which is not good. Ji-chan? Opening his eyes, Hiruzen turned to look at the boy who addressed him. The cage could see the uneasiness that the boy is currently feeling just by looking at his body gesture and stance. Can we go to the hospital and check up on her? I mean, I know that you want some questions just like I do. The Sarutobi was surprised to know that the boy figured out what he wanted to do, but not before noticing the sense of distress in his voice. Is Naruto worried about this woman that he brought with him? Nodding, Hiruzen accepted the teen's suggestion. Very well, Naruto-kun. We will go and visit our guest and get ourselves some questions. Before saying anything else, Hiruzen turned to his student without batting an eyelash. And you, Jiraiya, I want you to return to the cliff with a couple of Anbu to investigate the place further. Also, I'm banning you from every public baths there is in Konoha, period. Jiraiya had never felt so hopeless in his life. Naruto had never felt so happy in his life. Ji-chan. Even if the pervert's an ass, should he really be away for this? I mean, I know that he has his own questions that need to be answered. Being thoughtful of others is probably one of the many good traits that Uzumaki Naruto possesses. Even the aged Hokage himself has to admit that the boy is rather selfless when it comes to things like this. Naruto may be pissed at the pervert, but it's just unfair to exclude him out from this. Currently walking one of the most desolated and quiet hallways in the central hospital of Konoha, Hiruzen nodded, agreeing up to a point with the boy's statement. Indeed, but we need to conduct investigation at the scene too. Think about it like this. If that place has something to do with you being revived or conscious from your death. No matter how hard he tried to force himself to say those words, the Sarutobi cringed. It means that the place is in need of immediate investigation. I have sent Jiraiya and a couple of Anbu purely to conduct further investigation, I am not excluding Jiraiya out of this. It might seem that way, but for Naruto, there's a deeper meaning than that. The old man is worried about him. He knows he'll be. Ever since he was young, there's only the old man, Tuchi Jiken, Ayame Nichan and Iruka Sensei who were and always been sincerely worried if he gets into sticky or troublesome situations. It's what makes you humans so damn interesting and annoying, kid, just deal with it. You'll be in the monkey's position later on in life. The ever-deep voice of the Kyuubi echoed from within the seal, commenting. Still, whatever. I just want to get to where we're going quick. The Kyuubi raised an eyebrow at its host's distressed state. Those red eyes of the Kyuubi narrowed as a rousing suspicion grew inside of it. Why is the kid so damn worried about the vixen he just met? On second thought, forget that. Why is he feeling so damn uncomfortable without her around him? Being inside its host's body means that Kyuubi gets to feel some of the feelings that Naruto is able to produce. Thankful, pleasure and pain are not included. And right now, at this very moment, the feeling that his host is giving off is akin to that of a mother hen being separated from its baby chick. A sense of worry and discomfort of being separated. But why? Little did the Kyuubi know, Naruto is even more eager to get his own questions answered from this woman. After a minute of walk, Hiruzen and Naruto reached a door that has two Enbu members standing guard in front of it. This must be the room. Taking a step forward, Naruto could feel himself feeling better. The sense of discomfort began to slowly diminishing. The boy clutched his chest. Just what is wrong with him? Hiruzen sent the two ANBUs a look. Both mask-wearing shinobis nodded before stepping aside to allow entry for the two newcomers. Naruto entered the room first, followed by his grandfather figure behind him. Upon entering, the blonde could feel his heart had just skipped a beat when he saw the face of the unconscious red-haired female, presumably, sleeping on the hospital bed. Walking forward, Naruto took his position to the girl's side. His wide blue eyes went bitter as he examined the girl's face closely. He does not know her. They have never met before, nor has he seen someone like her. So why is his heart aching so hard just to see her like this? Naruto, for the lack of better term, was conflicted. He's conducting an orchestra of mixed feelings inside of his heart. Just what is his connection with this? Why is he like this? It had been nothing but questions, and Naruto hates it when it stays that way. Unknown to himself, he's gripping on the railing of the bed with his teeth biting his lower lip. Please, wake up, I have so much to ask, he pled from the bottom of his heart. Wake up, that was all she heard. Her eyes snapped open, akin to the scenes in most horror movies. Her eyes now opened, revealed to be a pair of exotic and rare soft shade of pink. Pink hair is as strange as it gets, but pink eyes? She suddenly sat up straight, surprising the two males in the room. She looked around slowly, her head slowly looking from left to right. Through all this, her face remained blank, completely lacking any particular emotion. If blankness is an emotion of its own, then she's using it professionally. Naruto inched away, he backed away slowly, surprised to see that she had awakened just as he wished for her to be. It was soon later, to the boy's major confusion, that Naruto found her staring at him with a pair of eyes that he did not know that a human could have. He suddenly felt tense, he forced himself to swallow the lump of air that has been gathering in his throat. Hiruzen, who was watching the female closely, was narrowing his eyes. Her attention was focused at Naruto all this time. Just what is she thinking? The seemingly ever so stoic girl was dressed in a hospital gown. The nurses and doctors had probably changed her onto one before leaving the genin's orange jacket folded nicely on the small table beside the bed. The girl's eyes were wandering sideways, back and forth until her gaze strictly landed on the piece of folded apparel. Naruto went wide-eyed and so did Hiruzen. She finally spoke. She spoke. Hiruzen felt a little bit relieved. He thought that the girl wasn't capable of speaking, which will be a lot of problem. At least, the aged Kage knew that he'll get things answered in a second. Coughing to his wrinkly fist, Hiruzen readied himself to speak. Excuse me, miss? As a common courtesy, he started out polite. But it was no use. Her attention wasn't focused on him one bit. Instead, it was aimed at the folded piece of clothing. Hiruzen eyed the orange jacket and to the owner of said jacket. He gained Naruto's attention by tapping the floor twice, prompting the blonde to look at him. The sandame sent the boy a silent gesture to bring the jacket to her, to which the blonde immediately did. Naruto placed his jacket, which was folded nice and neatly in front of the female right at the foot of the bed. He watched with curious eyes as her gaze shifted along, following the movement of his face and onto the jacket. After setting the piece of clothing down, the blonde backed away silently. The girl is still sitting there on the bed motionless. The only thing that has been moving all this time were her eyes and head, and right now both are focused on the piece of clothing in front of her. She blinked once, twice, thrice, then, she reached for the jacket, holding it close to her and finally burying her face into the soft fabric. Good. To both men, it's as if she's taking a deep whiff of the jacket. Which is very confusing. Who on earth would sniff at someone else's clothing? That's just unhygienic. But it seems that the woman got what she wanted. It could be shown by the still stoic, though content, expression she's showing. Hiruzen quickly shook everything aside, deciding that this is the time that he will finally ask. "Excuse me, miss?" By a single wave of his arm, he had managed to shift the woman's attention to him. "Who are you?" Don't blame him for the near-blunt answer. It's logical, after all. This woman, she appeared as if she was air before. The girl who was questioned blinked once, twice, thrice, until she slowly lifted her right arm to point a finger at the aged cage. Hiruzen was mildly stunned at the gesture, but he was even more stunned when she says, "Ji-chan." An odd moment of silence passed through the room. It took Naruto of all people to break it. Hi?" The boy started lamely, but nicely. Unlike Sarutobi, who needed to wave an arm to get her attention, all it took was for the blonde to finish his last word to get the girl right in front of his face, literally. Whoa! Surprised, Naruto tried not to back away. He managed to keep a still ground, a couple few inches from his earlier position before. His cheeks turned a light pink color at the sudden closing of distance. What? She did not answer him, but instead she raised both arms in front of her, akin to that of a child who wanted to be carried by their mother. Hug. Naruto never knew that a simple word could make him blush so hard. What? Why? Ni. Surprisingly, it's Hiruzen. The old man was silent ever since the moment she had started to smother her face onto the blonde's jacket. He's been observing the way she's interacting, and it's pretty obvious that she's not one for talking. What do you mean, ni? The Sarutobi asked for further clarification. Naruto placed his 5 cents along with the old man. He too is as confused as the old man is right now. Just why would this random girl he just met, who, for some reason, managed to make him a worrywart, and is beautiful down to the bones, would call him her brother? The girl with the red hair nodded, her cheeks puffing out slightly. Naruto personally found it cute. Ni is ni. Seeing that this is getting nowhere, Hiruzen decided to compromise. Then, if Naruto is ni, then who are you? It's like asking the billion Ryo question. The girl sitting on the bed adopted a thoughtful look. After exactly 5 seconds of thinking, she looked back at the only genin in the room with a look that one could say is questioning. She parted her lips slightly as if to start speaking. Ni, name? Naruto knew that she's asking him. But what he didn't know is why on earth would she ask him what her name is. Isn't that, like, weird? Scratching the lower part of his chin, Naruto was unsure on how to reply. He turned away to look at the sandame. Ji-chan, I think she's asking me what her name is, what should I do? The Kami no Shinobi took a moment to think, though the term contemplate was far more appropriate at this point. Then, give her a name, Naruto-kun. It might have sounded like the most outrageous suggestion ever, but, yeah. We can't leave her like this all the time now, can we? Well, you're right, but my naming sense isn't as good as yours. Then the boy looked bashful. I called my wallet Gamma-chan for God's sake. Hiruzen let out a hearty chuckle, his old bones feeling refreshed after a short laugh. Haha, indeed you did. But we still can't leave her nameless like this. Welp, so much for not doing anything. Naruto began to think of a name, one that is simple and easy to remember and to call. His short-tracked brain wasn't exactly made for thinking. PSH, you got that right. Shut up. So, what is short, nice, simple and easy to remember, As he was thinking, his eyes trailed to her face. Now that he had gotten a better look, she actually looked younger than him, though her height completely contradicts that statement. Not to mention her BRBR assets, which she possesses. To others' eyes, maybe even his own, she looked like a girl who's at mid-teens, about 15 or 16 or something. And for some reason, she's really taken a liking to his jacket. A red-haired girl who is extremely beautiful, and likes jacket, yeah, not much right there. But, the first and second point should suffice. Then, both Hiruzen and the girl perked up. How about, Kohaku, the name, for some reason, felt right in Naruto's tongue. The name's short and he knew how to write it in ink. The character, Ko, is written as, red, while the character, Haku, is written as white. One might wonder why he preferred this sort of alternative name instead of the normal Kohaku, which means, amber. Well, Naruto is apparently a literal person. Red is for her hair, and white is for the expression of her just being there. And since the color is associated with something that has begun, or in this case, her being here. Hiruzen let his wrinkled eyes blink for 3 times before nodding. I see. It should suffice. He then looked considerately at the girl. Is that okay for you? If her blank look could tell, then she would be saying that she's thinking. Like, Naruto swore that he just saw the corner of her lips tugging upwards. He felt his skipped heart beat for some reason, and no, he's not really sure on why he's feeling like this. Good, Hiruzen said. Now if you don't mind, Kohaku-san, I would like to question a few things from you. In reply, Hiruzen received a tilt of a head from the girl. He took it as a way to express confusion, which is apparently right on the spot since she was totally clueless. Who are you? He repeated again, asking his previous question. The girl in question was still tilting her head sideways, before she remembered what happened a few seconds ago. Kohaku. Both Naruto and Hiruzen blinked. Is she referring herself to the new name that Naruto had given her? Pinching the bridge of his nose, the aged Kage could feel something building up inside of him. And he's pretty sure that it's frustration. Well, she wasn't exactly wrong on answering, but it should be obvious that he's asking of her origins. Ni? Hungry? The now newly named Kohaku asked her, Ni. Her soft and round feminine face was just too much for Naruto to handle. No, I'm not hungry if that's what you're asking. The boy answered while stammering a few words. He then looked at her straight in the eye, a wondering look on his face. Are you? With a blank look on her face, Kohaku shook her head. No, this is getting nowhere, Hiruzen thought with a mental slap. If it has come to this, then he has no choice of bringing someone from the professional field into this matter. Anbu. With a simple utterance of his word, 2 Anbu members that were guarding the door in front appeared into existence behind the cage with their posture kneeling. Stroking his short gray beard, Hiruzen said, Bring me Yamanaka Inoichi here. Quick. Yes, Hokage-sama. Both Anbu replied monotonously before disappearing. Naruto wasn't overly shocked about those Anbus suddenly appearing, because he knew that he could give those guys a run for their money. Literally. Oh, those days were so memorable. But back to topic. Looking at the girl who he had just named, he still can't believe that she appeared so suddenly. In fact, from the dots he had connected, she was just a figure of his imagination. She was literally in his mind, right? He was unconscious when he met her, right? Damn it, the boy cursed mentally. This is getting even more confusing. The beast inside of the genin hummed. You got something, Fox? Not exactly. Let's just say that she is indeed a part of your mind. She's a sentient being just like me. Let's just say that. So, she is technically a part of you, of some sort. Kind of like me, since I was sealed inside of you ever since you were still a baby. The Kyuubi wondered openly to its host. But it doesn't make any sense. If she is indeed a part of you then, what's with you getting to Limbo, and why on earth would we find her in a shrine of all places? Don't ask me. I'm lost ever since you started speaking about her being a part of me. Idiot. Oi. As the boy was having his inner conversation with his tenant, he failed to notice the pair of longer hands reaching for him from his back. Whoa, what the reasons be damned, Naruto needed to hold back when showing his surprise. Kohaku had just suddenly wrapped her arms behind the boy's back, catching him in a backside hug, embracing him from behind. The blonde was not concerned about the fact that she had just hugged him. He's more concerned about the 2 fleshy, meaty things pressed onto his back at the moment. Oh, he just remembered that she's only wearing a hospital gown. How nice. You lucky bastard Naruto, was what Hiruzen thought. But he's too wise to say that out loud. It seems that she has taken a liking to you, Naruto-kun. In all honesty, the aged Kage is pretty amused to see this rare and, what he thought was, impossible sight. He could feel a sense of nostalgia hitting him right in the spine. These two are so much alike. And he's not referring to the both of them via context. If only a certain blonde and red-haired was here. Surprisingly, it wasn't Naruto who responded. With what one could say a proud look on her face, Kohaku nodded her head once. Kohaku likes ni. She took that moment to emphasize her statement by burying her face into the blonde's nape, taking a deep whiff of his odor, which also caused her to emphasize her forbidden fruits clearer to the blonde. Naruto's embarrassed expression and stammering, mixed with the way things had just gone, Hiruzen really found it hard to not laugh. The scene in front of him is one thing if not amusing. As a person who had taken care of Naruto ever since the boy was very young, Hiruzen felt touched to see his surrogate grandson interacting like this with a person. He knew too well that the boy's life was hard. Hard for people his age, at least. No child should bear the burden that the boy is bearing right now, but Naruto was able to surprise him by staying positive this whole entire time. If he had the honor to say it out loud, Hiruzen was proud to have Naruto as a part of his life. The boy was able to both lift him and bring him into moods that he would never thought of experiencing once in a while. At that very moment, Hiruzen could feel a tinge of chakra spike in the air. And in the blink of an eye, a figure appeared in the room accompanied by the two Anbu that was here earlier. The figure was revealed to be a man of average height, clearly taller over Naruto and Sarutobi, maybe Kohaku. He's a man with a long platinum blonde hair to which was kept neat into a long ponytail in which his clan was famous for. He's wearing the standard flak jacket over a black outfit, complete with handguards, forehead protector and a sleeveless red haori. He, just like the ANBUs behind him, was in a kneeling posture due to the figure in front of him. "Do you call for me, Hokage-sama?" the gruff voice belonging to the man questioned with respect. He allowed himself to stand, showing a pair of bluish-green eyes. "I did, Inoichi," the Hokage confirmed with a slight nod. The Sarutobi gestured to two teens who are still latched. It's more Kohaku who is still latching onto Naruto, on together. "I take it that you know Naruto-kun?" Naruto, at hearing himself being addressed, slowly backed away closer to Kohaku. Seeing this, Inoichi managed a small smile. "Ah, yes, I know. You are in the same batch as my daughter, Ino, right?" At that, the younger blonde held a look of surprise. "You're Ino's father?" It might sounded like as if he did not believe that this man was related to Ino even a bit. But after taking in the consideration of the man's family name, he realized that he sounded like an idiot. Inoichi laughed heartily. "Ha ha ha, it's not my fault that my daughter looks so much like her mom. But yes, I am her father." Throughout all of this, the smile did not disappear from his face. In fact, it might have gotten wider. With a cough to his fist, Hiruzen managed to gather everyone's attention. He sent the two ANBUs a look, gesturing them to dismiss themselves, to which they did without saying anything. "If you are done, then, I would like you to do me a favor, Inoichi-kun." Knowing that things are getting into business, Inoichi discarded his earlier expression. It never ceased to amaze Naruto on how a shinobi is able to change their expression in an instant. The Yamanaka's silence was his reply to the Hokage's statement. Hiruzen, with his arms behind his back, gestured with a turn of his body towards the girl who is still latched onto the boy's back. "Please meet Kohaku-san, Inoichi-kun. She is a guest as for the moment." Now Naruto is not very smart. But he's not dumb enough to not know that the old man was lacking a term to describe his relation with Kohaku. And he can't blame him. To be more accurate, Hiruzen continued. "She is a guest under the watch of Naruto-kun himself." "Hey, ow, you hit me, Ji-chan. Cheeky kid." But unfortunately, we do not have any idea as to where did she came from nor what her origins are. We tried asking her but, the cage paused to think. She is not very familiar when it comes to speaking. Well, at least Naruto could agree with that. Still, he never knew that old people could hit that ha. Ow, again? Watching the scene, Inoichi was wondering if he had gotten too close to those mushrooms that he received for his shop earlier this morning. Ahem. The Sarutobi coughed silently. "So, could you please take a look inside Kohaku-san's mind and tell us what do you see?" It's not sure whether the old man was being polite or blunt, but, hey, whatever way works. While not being very familiar with clan jutsus, Naruto was at least knowledgeable that the Yamanaka clan in Konoha is capable of using mind or psychic-related powers. But he didn't know that they could take a look at a person's memory. "Wait, Looking into a person's memory, isn't that an invasion of privacy? Showing a troubled expression, Naruto wasn't too particularly keen on having the thought that someone's about to invade his own thoughts and memories. But seeing the circumstances given, there isn't really much of a choice. It's either this or something else entirely. Noticing the face that the boy was making, Inoichi smiled to himself. It's fine, he reassured the boy. She won't feel anything in the slightest. That did not calm the genin down one bit. Turning his head, slowly, he stared right back into Kohaku's ever-so-stoic persona. His looks flashed a hint of worry in the girl's mind. Let us begin right away. At Hiruzen's words, both Naruto and Inoichi moved in opposite ways. The short and younger blonde stepped backward, while the taller and older man stepped forward. Moving backwards for Naruto meant that he's stepping closer towards Kohaku, who was still hugging him in this very moment. Inoichi frowned. Naruto, I can't do the jutsu if she's holding to you like that and if she's not letting go of you. Then can I at least be here when you do it? Asked the boy. Eyes widening a little bit, Inoichi nodded eventually. Sure, but make sure not to interrupt me, okay? At that, the boy gave him a silent nod. Inoichi smiled before grabbing a stool to sit on. He took his place near the girl, just enough to allow him to touch her forehead. When the man's hand touched the girl's forehead, Naruto felt like jumping. And what's weird is that, strangely, Kohaku does too. But both managed to stay still, with Kohaku now off from Naruto's neck. The boy chose to hold the girl's hand tight. He gripped harder, and was surprised to feel the same response coming from the girl. Inoichi closed his eyes to concentrate, and Hiruzen was observing the entire thing in the background, making sure that nothing goes wrong. The Yamanaka performed the jutsu, which is known as Psycho Denshin. It involves the user entering the target's subconscious by placing a hand on the target's head and extracts any information needed, even if the target has forgotten it or has had it blocked. Inoichi was and is familiar with this technique, due to his profession in the T&I division of Konoha. Due to his familiarity with this particular technique, Inoichi could do the jutsu easily. He could shift through memories and uncover them quicker than those who are still new to this technique. It will normally took him about 10 or 20 seconds in order to get a full and detailed feedback of the target's memories of the past day. But in all of the 20 seconds provided, he found nothing. Null. He only found the recent memories, and that is the moment when she opened her eyes to stare on the ceiling. Retracting and cutting the connection, Inoichi retracted his head from Kohaku's head. Seeing this, Hiruzen perked up. So, what did you found, Inoichi? The man's frown was as obvious as a fat duck in a chicken coop. Nothing, Hokage-sama, nothing. Despite the disappointing answer, Hiruzen was not eager to give it up. Are there any mental blocks placed on her? No, there aren't any. I just can't find any memories inside her subconscious. From the man's tone, it's as if it's the first time he had ever encountered this kind of situation. Crossing his arms, Inoichi was staring at the girl. I don't know what's the cause of it, Hokage-sama, but Kohaku-san over here might not have a memory to begin with. Naruto went wide-eyed. What? Now don't be so surprised, kid, I've seen this coming. The Kyuubi said almost knowingly. Then why didn't you tell me about it? Because it will make you look suspicious as hell. The nine-tailed fox answered simply. The monkey had been getting edgy ever since you told him that you had talked to me. It's no use on giving the old bag a heart attack in the middle of this all. Well, if you put it that way. Hiruzen, noticing the lack of response coming from the boy's part, concluded that he is currently having an inner conversation with his tenant. He will need to have a talk with him soon. Is that so? It's impossible, don't you think, Inoichi-kun? It should be, because even if the victim were to suffer from a severe case of amnesia, I would still be able to catch a glimpse of their memories. But what I saw in Kohaku-san's mind was nothing but emptiness. It's, excuse me, completely blank. The man explained as accurately as he could. There are drugs that are capable of causing instant loss to the victim's memories. I recommend a blood check of the patient as soon as possible. Hiruzen nodded at the suggestion. Very well, Inoichi-kun. You may be dismissed. At the sign of dismissal, Inoichi nodded. Yes, Hokage-sama. And then he disappeared. Breathing out a sigh of relief, he got Hiruzen's eyes on him. Phew, Hiruzen noticed it. Naruto has, throughout the whole time, been holding onto Kohaku's hand so tightly that he's even sweating. Is he nervous from Inoichi checking the girl's mind? If so, why? This is getting more and more complicated by the second answers are answered. Neat, cold. Attention immediately shifting, Naruto blinked. You're cold? Then he remembered that she's just wearing a hospital gown for God's sake. He blushed at his own stupidity. He grabbed his jacket before offering it to her. Here, wear this. But she's not even taking the hideously eye-hurting clothing from him. Neat, put it on me. Now that was both Naruto and Hiruzen. In the boy's part, he was completely surprised and unprepared for such words. Hence why he's reduced to a blushing and stammering mess of a recorder. Www where I it o on you. He squeaked out, not knowing that he could squeak. In Hiruzen's part, the cage was, too, not expecting such words from the girl. But he managed to think and draw conclusions immediately. These two. So, while Naruto was busy trying to put on the jacket for the girl, Hiruzen was wondering. Are they related? In a place far, far, far away from Konoha. In a faraway shrine somewhere in a place where no one had ever set foot on. Era? The shrine doors are open, a female voice wondered aloud to herself. Said female was tall, reaching the height where normal women can't. Maybe that's it. Maybe she's just not a normal woman in the first place? Her long beautiful auburn hair contrasts greatly with the collar of the yukata she's wearing, which is colored in a beautiful golden color. Her eyes, ever so squinting and narrow they are, showed signs of worry and distress. Mother, another voice belonging to a female, albeit lighter and younger, called out. The form of a young, shorter and identical form to the woman earlier came approaching. The now arrived female who called the woman mother was panting for air. Ha, ha, you're too quick, mother dearest. This daughter of yours is not so quick when it comes to channeling Reiki for faster movements. The daughter to the mother complained whilst panting. The approaching female looked similar to the older-looking woman. She is, after all, her daughter. Unlike her mother, who kept her hair straight, she chose to tie her into a long ponytail which is currently waving as she runs. She's wearing a purple-colored yukata just like her mother, albeit with a different design and color. Her womanly assets are being emphasized greatly as she was running at the woman. Still, those endearing orbs are nothing compared to her mother's. And she's just standing still. You have arrived, daughter dearest. The mother acknowledged her daughter's present just recently, much to the daughter's subtle annoyance. Said daughter was about to retort an answer of her mother's ignorance, but she too noticed the particular thing that her mother was focusing on earlier. Heavens be pierced. Someone has broken into our shrine, mother. The mother hummed. Indeed, but I do not feel any presence or whatsoever around us, daughter dearest. I wonder, has she been lingering around our shrine again? She asked her daughter, who suddenly got ill-faced. The younger of the two uttered in obvious disgust. Please do not mention that bimbo ever again, mother dearest. It unnerves your daughter by the mere hinting of her. The older giggled onto the sleeves of her yukata. I take it that you still haven't gotten along well with Dao-chan, daughter dearest? Ooh, please mother dearest. Oofufu, the mother giggled some more before retracting her sleeves. Her mouth returned to a thin flat line. But still, it is strange. We do not have much, yet, who would want to steal from a shrine? We do not know how the people here thinks, mother dearest. The daughter said with a brash tone. Methinks that they might have stolen our komainu. What if that was what happened, mother dearest? We shall investigate at once. She was about to drag her mother along into the shrine but was, fortunately, stopped. No, I think that the komainu was not stolen, but I think that it is something entirely else. The daughter, as slow as she is loud, was clueless to what her mother was hinting. Please do explain it clearly, mother dearest. Oofufu, what I am trying to say is, her thin and enclosed eyes slowly opened, showing a pair of pink orbs. Your sister, she has awakened. At that, the daughter went dead quiet. No, I can't exactly blame her, you know. As a kid, Naruto had always hated getting shots. Which is why he always avoided getting into the hospital. Thankfully, his abnormal body rarely caught any form of sickness there is for a child to have. But there are times where he must take one whether he's sick or not. So seeing the sight of Kohaku latching onto his arm and hiding behind his back is a form of nostalgia to him. The difference is that there's no team of professionally trained Anbu to hold her down. Due to the recommendation coming from Inoichi, a team of nurse and doctors were immediately sent into the room by the Hokage's order to get a blood sample of the patient. Wait, blood sample? What is she, an animal? Anyway, the team of doctors and nurses alike must rely on the Jinchuriki in order to get the job done. No. In fact, they could only ask him to stop the girl from running away naked and only wearing a jacket over a hospital gown. Naruto, he's not doing so well himself. Come on, he's a boy for God's sake. A healthy and curious boy. Still, priorities are priorities. So, this has to be done either way. Turning his back to look at the shivering and quivering, taller girl. Naruto looked up while managing a huge smile. Hey, it's okay. It's just a shot, there's nothing to be afraid of, ha 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 ha. Could you guys please stop staring at me like that? It's harder for me, okay? All the doctors looked away for some reason. Sighing, Naruto shook his head. Anyway, just take the shot. He still smiled. I'll be here. Those 3 words caused the slight widening of Kohaku's eyes. She felt stronger inside. Almost as if she's brave enough now. After a few moments of silence, she eventually nodded. But, Ni must get shot too. Naruto paled. One of the doctors pulled out an extra syringe. Let's just say what happened next is Naruto cursing his big mouth. After getting the shot, or shots down, it was now in reverse. Naruto's the one who's afraid, while Kohaku's the one who's comforting him. Ni, liar. I'm sorry, it's a nice day in Konoha. Alright, let's see what I've been through. First, I spend the majority of this training break with that pervert doing completely nothing at all. Even if that water walking gibbet seems neat, I doubt that they'll have a water environment in the stadium. Second, the perverted wanted to teach me on how to summon toads. Which is really cool, but he fucking slammed me to and into a fucking cliff. Third, I died. Joy. Fourth, I ended up in limbo where this freaky deaky shit happened and I suddenly found myself in a god-forsaken shrine in an inn. He gasped for air. I'm still alive and kicking. He concluded with a positive grin. Phew, what a nice day it'd be, like hell it was. The boy shouted in outrage, slamming down the piece of clothing that he had been holding on to all this time. He grabbed the side of his head in frustration, his teeth gritting. It would have been better if I never met the pervert in the first place. Now don't let Kohaku catch you saying that, young man. Like hell do I care. You know, you like to speak to yourself, don't you? Looking around, he noticed that people are looking at him. Some are even openly shaking their head while giving him the look of pity. He overheard some women talking about kids these days being too overpressured by today's custom. What is this? Rural democracy? Sighing, Naruto picked up the piece of clothing from the ground, holding it in his arms. As of right now, he's in a particular shopping district in Konoha. Why? Well, done. That's why. The sliding of curtains belonging to a changing closet slid open, revealing none other than the busty red-haired girl. Naruto had the decency to blush. Hell, all men who are staring should at least have. The stoic-faced girl was now wearing something entirely else than that of a hospital gown. Ditching the blasphemous gown, she was now wearing a black yukata with white crescent moon designs descending from the top left of the yukata down to the lower right. Her obi was tied perfectly and neatly, almost as if the one who had done it was a professional. The obi is colored to match her hair, being dark red. But out of all, the one thing that made Naruto nearly mistook her for someone entirely else was the fact that she had her hair tied to a single bun with a chopstick keeping it in place. Combined with her pink eyes and stoic look, she looked like a geisha with a low paycheck. Other than that, Naruto was considering that traditional clothing was, indeed, the best. How? She twirled around her spot, causing the hem and sleeves of the yukata to billow. Naruto raised a thumb, a goofy grin on his face. 10 points. He then realized the stupid expression he's making. I mean, you look beautiful in that. The boy shyly looked away, fingers scratching his whiskered cheeks, also accompanied by a dust of red glow on his face. For Kohaku, it's like getting a major turn on. Whoa, hey, don't cling to me all of a sudden. Finding himself in a rather compromising position, Naruto found it hard to not react when he felt a pair of, already, familiar womanly flesh pressed onto his back. Apparently, Kohaku just loved to smell his scent. Weird, unlike the boy, the girl was having the time of her life. Never mind her tall stature that, obviously, towers over the boy's. It is all the chance that she got right now. Burying her face deep into her knee's neck, Kohaku took a deep whiff of Naruto's odor for the second time today. The salty aroma of sweat flares her nostrils. She found it difficult to not get addicted to this. After all, this scent is the scent of the one who saved her. Naruto was seriously considering on switching his place with a log of chair or something. But he noticed that Kohaku isn't radiating the same excited feeling that she gave off earlier in the hospital when she's holding on to him. Blinking, Naruto slowly turned his back so that he could at least take a look at her shoulders. And since Kohaku's practically bending down right now, the emphasizing of those globs on his back was pretty hard to ignore. Kohaku, what's wrong? The boy asked, completely unaware of the subtle stare that they're receiving from the people around them. In fact, he paid them no mind. All that he's focusing on now is this deep feeling of mystery in his chest. As Kohaku thought, the girl started, and she's probably saying the longest statement she ever made that day. "Ni, I love you." How could he not react to such honest, pure and blissful sounding words? He felt his heart skipping a beat, even too. He felt as if heaven itself has descended to earth at that very moment. His mind couldn't even comprehend whether or not reality is still intact. She loves him. She loves him. Even if she's calling him her brother, Ni, still, she loves him. But, he loves Sakura. He loves her, right? That moment, Naruto didn't even know why a certain pink-haired girl crossed his mind. But he knew one thing. Even if she did cross his mind, it wasn't at all related to this magnificent and gorgeous girl who's currently hugging him from behind. Never mind the fact that he just met her today and it all happened as if it was a shitty plot from some third-rated fiction made by a teen who's still in his high school. Ouch. But, fuck, that, shit, he didn't care. He could give all the fucks in the world right now. If he could be with this mysterious yet familiar girl any second, he'd give everything. Everything, from his life to his dreams. From his dreams to his smile. From his smile to, everything. Everything that made him whole, he'll give it all to her. But, why? Why is he willing to do so much for her? Shopping had never been so confusing and tiring at the same time. The kid, he'd done DWIDLY do. The nine-tailed demon fox shook its large furry vulpine head as it watched what was currently going on with its container. One could say that the infamous Kyuubi no Kitsune was and is currently interested. But of course, to say that it is indeed interested is as vague as its host is dumb. But in all seriousness, its interest has grown from just interest to the one where a huge blob of confusion is mixed into the bowl and blended in a blender with more than 6 razor blades. This is all messed up. Yet, it's going all well, for some ridiculous reason. It didn't know. Maybe someone up there had run out of idea on how the world works. Oi, back to point. Kyuubi, as much as it likes the way things are going now, there's this itching feeling on the top of its palm, or paw that made it think that something horribly wrong was about to happen. Be it tomorrow or next week, it didn't know. But to make it real simple and easy to understand, it just hoped that its host will grow from the pathetic, loud, and naive boy to a better human. Of course, the Kyuubi was comparing its host to how any other human would compare each other. It hoped for Naruto to be able to fend for himself properly. It hoped for the kid to be able to control and use its Uzumaki blood to the fullest. Why? Let's just say that it's a major hurt to its pride if it were to have a poorly shaped and weak host. It will be an outright mock to its immortal existence. Why immortal? Well, an immortal is, after all, a term to describe a being with a beginning but no end. Behind the murky and rusty iron bars that it called prison, the Kyuubi grinned wide. It's showing the rows of razor-sharp fangs that it possesses. But there is this tiny bit of thing that it had to do in order for its wish to come true. Click. Hey, you can thank me later, kid. Then it yawned wide, opening its massive jaw. I'm going to sleep. Let sleeping do, or in this case, foxes lie, they say. On the middle of his walk to his apartment, while holding Kohaku by the hand, since she got distracted so easily with the most trivial of things, Naruto felt something clicked in him. He stopped, prompting the girl by his side to follow. He blinked a few times, not knowing what to feel. In fact, he didn't know if there's even a term for what he's feeling right now. Kohaku knew that something was wrong with her knee. But like a good girl she is, she decided to keep quiet. She could only watch as the shorter blonde clutched his chest, where his heart's at. Unable to bear with the sudden change of mood, Kohaku spoke. Knee, okay. She's obviously asking whether Naruto was fine or not. The boy left her answerless, he's still clutching his chest. But eventually, he managed to open his mouth. I don't know. I think I'm fine, yeah, I'm fine. He answered her with an unsure tone. But as conflicted he may be, he's still able to smile. Let's just continue to head to my home, yeah? Kohaku could only nod silently, not saying a word. It took her to realize that she too had been touching her chest, right on the left side. She dismissed it as an act of subconscious before proceeding to walk with her, one could say, guardian. Naruto ignored what had happened just the past few minutes. He walked down the nearly busy streets of Konoha. He preferred for it to be crowded in this time of the day. If it's too silent, he'll just have more stares aimed at his direction. But if it's crowded, people will usually pay more attention to things around them other than the demon brat. However, seeing that situation has changed itself, he had been receiving more subtle staring than usual. Oh, the reason's obvious. It's due to the girl right next beside him. He overheard whispers saying things like, "Did the Kyuubi kid kidnap someone?" Or even, "He's definitely forcing her to come with him." And even, "We should report this to the Hokage or something." Naruto could only sigh when he heard those comments aimed at him. Thankfully, Kohaku's not sharp enough to pick up what some of the citizens were whispering about. He just hoped that they'll get home quick. He could grab Kohaku and go for the rooftops, but it will only arouse more suspicions. He can't have the townspeople thinking that he'd finally have the guts to kidnap a fair maiden in broad daylight now, can he? Nope. So which is why, he decided to go for a shortcut over by the next alley and then finally going for the rooftops. Sorry about this. Naruto excused himself. He swiftly grabbed the girl in his arm, carrying the much taller girl on a princess carry position. As nervous as he was right now, Naruto tried his best to ignore the urge to be more conscious of what he's currently touching with his arms right now. Kya, ni, eki. Imagine a girl saying that with a really flat tone. Now imagine Naruto saying that whilst carrying the girl. It's harder to retort to that comment instead of ignoring the fleshy feelings on his arms. But never mind that. The boy soon jumped onto the roof, with the assistance of the ever so convenient chakra that he was, like many other ninja, gifted with. Hold on tight, Datbeo. With a shout of his verbal tick, he began to jump roof to roof. He started out slow, but slowly increasing his pace. He could feel the wind rushing against him, and he's sure that Kohaku's feeling the same rush. It's always nice to take roof jumping in the evening, especially in Konoha. Konoha was and is located in Fire Country, where there's only summer and rainy season all over. It's nice to feel the warm evening wind rushing past his face, not to mention, the beautiful marmalade-like decor that illuminates Konoha was also one heck of a sight. In Naruto's arm, Kohaku felt her heart beating faster. It's definitely due to the rush. But little did she know, it was not because of that only. It's because she could feel the beat of Naruto's own heart as she was carried by him in the wind. She could grasp on what the fallen leaves of autumn may have felt like as they fall and dance beautifully, before being carried away by the wind. Due to the material of her clothing being made of silk, which was famous for being thin and glossy, she could feel the hardness of her knee's abdomen on her sides. She shivered at that very moment. And she's pretty sure that it's not due to the wind. Soon after a ninja-style detour to Naruto's apartment, the two blonde and redhead finally arrived at their destined place. Naruto thought that it was a cool idea to leave one of his windows unlocked. For what, one might ask? Well, to be honest, it's for situations like this. Sometimes it was way too bothersome to walk to the front door, pull up his keys and unlock the door like any normal people would do. But such way was too underrated for someone like him. He went inside the window that leads to his room, and since his room wasn't that big in particular, having two people inside was practically a crowd. Yosh, K, welcome to Mi Casa. The blonde introduced with a wry grin. He set the taller girl down to her feet, still surprised to find her not as heavy as he thought she would be. Messy. And Naruto completely agree. Despite not having much, Naruto always liked to keep things on his reach. Meaning, such miscellaneous items such as lamps, training books, scrolls, a ramen cup, his bag, and another ramen cup was and always is on his reach. Or in simpler and imaginable term, his room itself is a complete junkyard. Scratching the back of his head, the blonde had the decency to be embarrassed. This is, after all, the first time when a girl had really entered his room and not just on the front door. It's not like he's got many visitors in the first place, much less guests. It has been decided by the Sandaime for Kohaku to stay with him and is completely under his supervision. At first he rejected, he can't even look after himself. What made that old goat think that the brat's smart enough to take care of others? Oi, ignoring that, it's a brand new experience for him. But, if there's one thing he's glad, is that Kohaku was not a really, as what his Nara friend would say, troublesome girl to deal with. Even after only hours of meeting, she would follow his instructions carefully. Before, when they were still shopping, he told her to stay while he asked and get a clerk to recommend some clothing for her. And Kohaku did what she was told. He was so proud. Dude, talk about creepy? Naruto ignored that. Looking around, Naruto agreed with Kohaku that his room was and is indeed messy. It had been a long time ever since he touched the cleaning supplies, about 5 months give or take. Yeah, don't worry. You can stay in the living room and watch some television while I clean this room, and after that, are you hungry? He saw her nodding her head twice. The whiskered blonde grinned. Great, we'll go to the best ramen place there is on this green earth, he promised her. So Naruto accompanied the silent girl to the living room. His living room isn't much, and it's only twice as big as his bedroom, which is, keep in mind, not that big in a living room standard. His kitchen is right next to the living room, separated by a wall and a small empty space in the middle. But this didn't mean that Naruto is cheap. Nope, he's not that perverted sage of an ass after all. His furnishing, while simple and ordinary, is what people would call minimalist. A simple sofa enough to fit up to 4 people. A simple cable TV subscribed to Konoha's one and only channel. A clock hanged on the wall. A small painting of a tree, and finally, a rack where he would place his tools. Prank tools. That's just his living room. He saw no need to add or put any particular furnishing when it comes to his kitchen. If there's a stove and heater, that's enough for him. Here, Naruto gestured towards the sofa. You can wait and sit here. Turn on the TV if you want to. He handed Kohaku the remote, to which she accepted with no emotion or feelings whatsoever. Naruto grabbed a dirty rag and plastic bag from a small cupboard in his kitchen, before proceeding to his room. I'll be inside if you need me. His face then turned serious. If there's someone knocking on the door, don't open it. Understand? She nodded. Yes, good. He smiled before closing the door on his own face. Now left alone, Kohaku stared at the black rectangular item on her hand. She stared, her face blank, as if she's trying to connect the dots. This thing, what is this? Forget what it is. Just how is this related to this TV thing? She then looked around, until her eyes finally landed on the black square screen in front of her that she has failed to notice all this time. After a closer look, Kohaku noticed that there are these circle-like things protruding from the sides of this square box. Her curious hand reached for one of them, and she unknowingly pressed one of them. The screen, to her shock, turned on to reveal a man talking from behind a table with a huge smile on his face. So today's weather will be sunny and there is a slight chance of rain for tonight. Since this was her first time encountering such things, Kohaku jumped 2 feet into the air before hiding behind the couch. She quivered behind the cover, surprised to suddenly see the black square box projecting the image of a man. She shyly and nervously peeked her head out from her cover, daring a look. She dropped the remote when she jumped in surprise earlier, so she has no chance of retrieving it without nearing the screen. And she's not looking forward to go near the man who's talking behind the table. Kohaku clenched her fists, not wanting to get scared of such things. What would her knee think if he saw her like this? Well, he would probably laugh, so, yeah. But anyway, she must at least try to get the remote, the thing that her knee entrusted her with. Slowly, she peeked out from the side of the couch, her hands reaching for the particular rectangular black object. To her joy, she managed to reach for it. She immediately went and grabbed the thing, pushing a button or two in the process. The TV's screen switched. This time it's, oh yeah, that's so good tilde. Kohaku's ears twitched. She turned her head to look at the once empty black screen. Said empty black screen was now replaced with the image, or video, of a couple who are, strangely, for her at least, close to each other while wrapping their arms on each other's body. Kohaku tilted her head in confusion. What are they doing? Then the hugging illustration that the couples are showing reminded her of her own actions with her knee earlier today. So that means that those 2 people in the magical box are like her and her knee. But before she could come to further conclusion, Naruto was there. He was so fast, like, really fast. He would have gotten the nickname, the Orange Flash, if he wasn't only wearing his black muscle shirt. The blonde teen was fast to have suddenly appear seemingly out of nowhere from his room and into the TV. Literally. Ignoring the pain and electrocution he's feeling all over his waist up, Naruto was red in the face. Red enough to rival a certain somebody who he had a promise with. The blonde dragged his one foot, which is stuck in the now broken screen, out. He gasped like a person who had run a full-course marathon all over Konoha, both due to the pain and tingling feeling. His blushing face slowly turned to look at the redhead who's still behind the sofa. Did you see?" he asked, voice trembling. If one were to look closer, tears are pooling from the corner of his eyes. Kohaku, who did not understand what he meant, tilted her head. Naruto took it as a sign that she saw it but was confused on what he meant. The blonde could do nothing but to bury his face in obvious shame into his palms, groaning in embarrassment. The yukata-wearing redhead was even more confused than before. Why is her knee suddenly covering his face? And was the two people inside the magic box okay? She took it to the level of speaking. "Knee, okay? I'm fine, just peachy." He muttered bitterly. God, he's so ashamed. But forget about that. Kohaku, yes knee? Can you do something for me? Yes? Naruto took a deep breath, but he still couldn't bring himself to let the girl see his face. Could you please not speak of what you just saw to anyone, especially to Ji-chan? Wondering why, Kohana wasn't afraid to ask. Why? It's like this, right? Naruto had gotten the hang of getting and grasping Kohaku's speech pattern. No, it's not like us. What you just saw was not like us at all. Finally, he brought his hands off from his face, showing the redhead his troubled expression. Kohaku was suddenly scared for some reason, almost as if she had done something bad to make her knee upset. Kohaku, you see, he can't believe he's talking about this kind of thing with a girl. But he steeled himself. I'm a boy, a healthy boy. And, we boys, we have these things called urges. He started slowly. I don't know if you're following me or not, but please try to listen, okay? Kohaku could only nod. When us boys are overfilled with these urges, we will find the need to relieve them, okay? He saw her nod. And, something like this, like the urges, is perfectly healthy. He took a deep breath. What you just saw was one of the many ways for us boys, men, to relieve our urges. Ni watched other Kohaku and Ni's hugging? No, God no, I don't watch that kind of. He then remembered who was it he's talking to. He noticed that he had just scared Kohaku due to his outburst too. Damn, Naruto pinched his temples. Look here Kohaku, Ni, he pointed a finger on himself for an easier explanation. Is a boy, while Kohaku is a girl, right? Yes, but we are Ni and Kohaku, right? It's his way of explaining to Kohaku of their semi and self-happened brother and sister relationship kind of thing. Yes, and Ni and Kohaku, we don't do that kind of stuff, he explained with a tone that dropped in the end. At this point, Naruto didn't know who's to blame, him or Kohaku, but it should be obvious. Why? He blinked. Did he hear her right? Why? She asked. Why? The girl repeated once more. Aren't Ni and Kohaku in love? Naruto turned slightly red. He broke eye contact with the redhead, faking to cough. Ah hey ahem. He then slowly looked back at those confused, innocent and pure face. We are in love? It came out as a question? He shook his head. No, I don't think that I love you the way you want me to. Kohaku did not really get it, but did her Ni just say that he did not love her? You see Kohaku, brothers and sisters, they don't do that kind of thing the first place? Naruto explained. I mean, we aren't really brother and sister but. Why? The blonde was surprised to hear such strong reply to his statement. Making a troubled expression, Naruto began thinking of an explanation. Because, a brother and sister who fell in love with each other are not really praised by societies, people labeled it as taboo. But, Kohaku loves Ni. Ni don't love Kohaku? She asked, her voice soft and lost. Panicking, Naruto waved his hands in front of his face. No. Wait, is he trying to say that he loves her? Is he really in love with Kohaku, someone who he had met about 4 to 5 hours ago? Is he just going to say he loves her in order for her to be calm? He's lost. Hearing the lack of reply from her Ni, Kohaku bowed her head low. She's feeling a new feeling inside of her. The kind of feeling that wanted her to break down all of a sudden, the kind of feeling that made her eyes watery and hurt. Is this sadness? As much as he wouldn't want to see her sad, Naruto cannot lie. He can't. If being honest would hurt her this much, then a lie would cause double the damage. The only difference is being honest hurts her now, while lying would only hurt her in the future. And he didn't want to see her sad. Even now, he's mentally stabbing himself with a kunai over and over again. Isn't there something he can do to fix this? At least, let it go without pain. Kohaku, his voice came out soft, gentle and different. He laid both hands on her shoulders. Look at me. She still won't. Look at me. Again, she won't. Look at me. That strong, almost scolding tone that he used immediately caused her head to spring back up. Instead of a scary look that she was expecting, Kohaku was greeted by a face that probably matched her own. But he has a smile on his face, while she's blank. Even if she's taller than him, she's bending so she could only look up to his face. Kohaku, listen, I'm sorry, okay? Please forgive me if my words ever come out harsh. He brushed his thumbs on her shoulders slowly, tracing circles with them. Look, what you did was not wrong. Not at all. In fact, it was all my mistake. I should have warned you earlier. He told her, but, as to what I was trying to say earlier, he trailed off. If you call me your brother, then, you can't love me the way, I assume, you want to love me. You can only love me as a brother. As a family. His face suddenly transformed brighter, almost as bright as the shining star of August. And in return, I will love you as a sister, yeah? I'll take care of you. I'll make you dinner and breakfast. Even if all I can cook is instant noodles, I'll show you what's there to see in this life, yeah. I'll do anything that a brother would do for his sister. His words did a major effect to her. She stopped feeling the hurting and aching sensation in her chest. Her eyes no longer hurt and liquid are no longer pouring down from her face. Ni, loves me? She asked. Yeah, Naruto breathed out with a smile on his face. I love you as a brother would to his sister. I guess. The blonde smiled awkwardly, one hand busy scratching his cheeks. Her feelings are changed. Kohaku gets to say, Ni, again. Yup, you get to call me Ni. Her heart no longer ached. Ni will love Kohaku, and again, as much as you love me. She felt new. Ni will do the things that the Ni did in the box to Kohaku, and Aga? She just didn't learn, huh? Naruto smiled. He raised his hand and he slapped himself hard on the face with his own hand, landing on the floor, out cold. Kohaku blinked. Once, twice, thrice. Is that, yes? No, dear, no. On a place that is somehow related with this story. Kukuku. Alas, after decades of planning, my plan will finally be brought to life. Mawahaha cough, cough, ta dao. Get me my medicine. Cough, cough, cough. What a way to introduce a character me. Mizahasha Chao was and forever will be an odd individual. Tao, get me my medicine, damn it. She's commanding, sometimes irritating, unreasonable and can also be downright mean. But of course, she was just like any other woman out there. She longed for love, she feels sad, she cry and many more. Mizahasha Chao was, hopefully not forever, a short individual. She, when compared to a child of only 9-year-old, was and is currently the prime example why people are short-fused, literally. Not only was her temper rather short, but her height too. It was a mystery discussed by those who knew her, and that mystery being her temper judged based on her height. Hi Chow Sama Tilda. A sing-song voice, definitely better sounding than the previous one, called out in reply. This was Mizahasha Dao. She was and forever will be the niece of Mizahasha Chao. Unlike her aunt, Dao was extremely blessed. Both in appearance and mental. She's the exact opposite of what her aunt was. Unlike her aunt, Dao was and forever is tall. She stood a height where one would mistake her for the older one. As if that had never happened before, instead of Chao. Also, her name's more adult-sounding instead of her aunt. Dressed in a light blue yukata with black petals design on them, Dao, if described, was one of the people in the world who would look good in any type of clothing. Unlike her aunt who will only look good on the little yellow sundress she's wearing. Why am I feeling the urge to punch someone really, really hard down there? Moving on, the two relatives are rather close with each other. In fact, they have been with each other ever since Dao was young child. But never mind their background, since it'll be whole different story really. Handing her aunt a cup of suspicious green liquid, Dao had a soft smile framed beautifully on her face. Here you go Chow-sama tilde. Her aunt grabbed the cup from her taller niece's hand quickly, almost as if that cup's worth thousands of gold. HHMPH. Consider this one of the many and not bothersome way that you could do to repay me for taking care of you after all this time. As she spoke, her words fade into the cup she's holding close to her mouth. The short yet older girl dunked the entire content of the cup into her system, ignoring the god-awful taste that was left in her mouth. Her face akin to that of child after eating a sour candy, Chow shivered. Ugh, I really need to change the ingredients for this medicine. A small giggle escaped her niece's mouth. You know that isn't possible Chow-sama. We are lacking the material to make even the simplest of medicines. How do you suppose to craft an entirely different yet similar medicine? Her niece asked. Oh, she's not mocking her at all. Nope, but being sarcastic, now that's another thing. The short-haired brunette grumbled onto herself. Even if what her niece said was true, she couldn't bring herself to accept the fact that they are indeed running low on ingredients to make medicine. Grr, a low growl escaped Chow's mouth. I shouldn't have believed what that crappy Tengu said, we are doctors for Kami's sake. She started to stomp her feet irately on the ground. God, I'm such a fool. To think that I believed on some crappy stone that could grant immortality. Whoa, be careful there. But what had been done cannot be undone. Mizahasha Chow sighed and slumped her shoulder forward as the carriage therein rocks due to the traveling. I'm sorry Dao, your aunt is a foolish woman. She would admit it any time someone asked her to. This isn't the first time she fell for such tricks and lies, in fact, it would hurt even the smartest of professors to count how many times she had fallen for lies and the such. Hence, her nickname, the foolish doctor. It's okay auntie. Things will turn out okay after all, right? Like it always do. At least not when things went from bad to worse. Dao was trying her best to cheer her aunt up, just like usual. I know. There is a nearby village from here. We could set up our shop there, yeah? I'm sure that they'll let us in to sell our products, yeah? Her niece's words did little effect, but it hit Chow. Fine, but what village is it anyway? Oh, it's Kono something, then she remembered. Aha, it's Konoha. You know, near Miyu and Fubuki-san's PLA, MMMPPH. Before her niece could even finish her sentence, her aunt was already at her face, literally. With a face akin to that of an enraged lion, Mizahasha Chow hissed venomously while both of her hands covered her niece's mouth as if she had spoken something taboo. Which is what she exactly done, at least for Chow. Don't you dare mention those names in front of me again, little girl. With each words, Chow's resilient anger increased. One could actually feel the atmosphere churning into something very uncomfortable. Oh okay auntie. Letting her hand go from her niece's face, Chow brought herself to calm down. Even if it's years after they met, the mere mentioning of that horse family still irritates her. She felt like throwing thousands of needles coated with poison to every patient she sees. No, in fact, she had the right to do so. She was and is Mizahasha Chow, the foolish doctor of the Imperial Heavens. And she won't be tricked again by the likes of that horse family. What did you say? Naruto thought that it would be the most logical idea to have a serious talk with Kohaku. He planned on eating out with her at Ichiraku, but he settled for a takeaway, to which Ayame kindly replied with 2 bowls of hot steaming ramen in front of his door. Naruto, he asked Kohaku if she had any apparent memories about herself or anything, but of course, the answer that she gave only surprised him. Kohaku, God, yeah, that was her answer. Blinking for what seemed to have been the 20th time that moment, Naruto then realized that he's still holding his chopsticks. Ha, that's a nice joke Kohaku, come on, tell me the truth. He laughed before asking her once again. Kohaku, still dressed in her black yukata, titled her head. Kohaku, tell truth. Kohaku, God. She has said the 3-lettered word for about 2 times now and, unfortunately, Naruto isn't deaf. In fact, he's all ears right now. The redhead blinked at her niece's apparent lack of reply, causing her to wonder with a tilt of her head. Noticing her confused and semi-worried expression, Naruto shook himself out from his quiet stupor. No, I hear you, but I don't think that I get what you meant when you said that you are God, though. Kohaku shrugged visibly. Kohaku, God, that's it. Naruto could see a twin gleam on both of her eyes. Kohaku has mother and sister. They, human. At the mentioning of human, her eyes drooped down, almost as if she's sad. Feeling uncomfortable, it took Naruto a lot of guts and willpower to ask her why is she sad. What do you mean they're humans? He saw his red-haired guest nod. Mom and sister, human. Ni is Ni. Now that's just weird, but cute. Puzzled and beyond confused, Naruto could only utter a single word. Huh? Again, Kohaku nods. Ni is Ni. Kohaku is God and Kohaku. But, Naruto swears that he saw the corner of her lips twitching and stretching even for a little bit. Ni gave Kohaku name. Kohaku. Blinking, Naruto felt warm and fuzzy inside. He grinned like a fool while scratching the back of his head. Hee, but still, there's still a lot to ask. When the Sandame dismissed him, he asked him to get some answers from her. The old man was kind enough to trust him to compose the questions. He settled for a subtle approach, since asking her outright and upfront would be too forceful on Kohaku's part. Then, you said you have a mother and sister, where are they right now? He asked. Kohaku tilted her head sideways, her face expressing the state of her mind. After a few seconds, the redhead shook her head. No, the ever-so-stoic girl replied to her niece's question. A small bead of sweat dropped down Naruto's head. I see, so, do you have a name? Before I gave you your name, I mean. Again, Kohaku tilted her head sideways, making the same thinking posture and expression just like a while ago. She then answered with the same answer. No, Naruto hummed. Then, what would get her to reveal something about herself, or something that is related to her? Tell me about your family? Instead of repeating the process of getting a blank expression and answering negatively, Kohaku glared at her knee. Not interested in Kohaku anymore? If Naruto was drinking, he would have done a spit take. But hey, he's doing it right now without even drinking anything. No. I haven't even met them, damn it. Taking a short pause to calm himself down, the blonde then released a deep sigh. I mean, they must be worried about you, yeah? And, was the shrine that I found you in your house? Been to Kohaku's house? Now he's not so sure on how to reply. Was the shrine where you found Kohaku even her house in the first place? But, she's asking about it, so there's no wrong in replying. I guess. Speaking of which, I found you tied up to the ceiling, why is that? At that, Kohaku looked away. Even if she's only averting her eyes away from Naruto, the blonde could easily tell that she's not looking on touching this side of the coin. But still, he'll have her answer him either way. Kohaku? Hello? She parted her lips. Kohaku. Sealed. Blinking, Naruto could only stare at her with eyes wide. Mother and sister. Sealed. Kohaku. Well, ain't that a huge twist? Somewhere on the outskirts of Konoha. Mother dearest, must we travel all the way here on our feet? Your daughter has little patience when it comes to traveling. We should have brought our carriage. Walking along the downtrodden dirt path that leads towards the border of Konoha, the two figures of women steadily walks amongst themselves. It took them more than 3 hours to reach the outskirts, and it will take another 2 to reach the borders. The daughter in particular hates walking, apparently. But it is nice to enjoy nature while the warm summer wind lingers, is it not, daughter dearest? The mother asked in reply. The soft warm wind of summer blew past the scenery, causing leaves to shake and carrying the sensation of evening to a whole new level. I agree, but we could see the scenery from our carriage, could we not? I see no reason to walk all the way to a human village on our feet. The younger female argued with her mother. Indeed so, daughter dearest. But bringing along our carriage would only be more problematic when we reach the village itself. Our human fellows tend to be a little wary when it comes to travelers entering their land. From her tone, one could easily tell that she's speaking from experience. The daughter finds no room in arguing, prompting her to sigh. If you say so, mother dearest. This Harukaze Miyu shall not question thou'st further. The older woman gave a small giggle in reply. Ufufu. I'm glad. As they mingle like the good family they indeed are, the mother could sense something. No. In fact, she knew that it happened already. My eldest, I see that you have finally found him. Ufufufu, this will be most interesting indeed. So back to our topic earlier, about your family, is there anything else that you can share about me? Naruto remembered that he's doing this ask and answer git for his own and the old man's benefit. The red-haired beauty nodded once in reply to Naruto's question. Kohaku. 2 sisters. So she's saying that she has 2 sisters? Kohaku eldest, Miyu-chan youngest, Hinoka-chan second. A family of 4, including her mother that is. But aren't you a god? Naruto asked. Isn't it impossible for a human to have a god as her offspring? Now this is the main part of this conversation, for him at least. To his confusion, Kohaku shrugged her shoulders. Don't know. But Miyu-chan and Hinoka-chan, pretty. Naruto would be lying if he said that he's not interested in this conversation even a bit. Really? The self-proclaimed god nod. Miyu-chan, cute. She, innocent. Her face fell for a moment. Tsunere. What now? Hinoka-chan, beautiful. From her tone, Naruto could sense a hint of respect. Hinoka-chan more beautiful. Is she saying that her sister's more beautiful than her? Blasphemy. After hearing the lackluster response and trivia concerning Kohaku's family, Naruto still found it hard to take. He can't believe that this girl in front of him is a god, he really can't. Then, a bright idea struck him. Hey, Kohaku, if you're a god then, could you prove it to me? The blonde asked. With a tilt of her head, Kohaku has the right to look questioning. Why? Well, scratching his words, Naruto found it hard to explain. I mean, no one would believe that you're a god if you don't have something to back it up. After a few moments of what Naruto guessed was thinking, Kohaku nodded. Kohaku will show ni. She then outstretched her arm towards Naruto, who was confused at the sudden gesture. Ni, wish, Kohaku, grant. You saying that you'll grant my wish? Because if it is, then it'll be really cool. He saw her nod. Ni, shake. Oh okay. Feeling a little bit uneasy, Naruto's also nervous. He's having a hard time believing this, but if it turned out to be real then he'll wish to have a ton of jutsus at his disposal so that he could defeat that arrogant jerk. Both jerks. He took her hand, still finding the softness of her skin to be believable. Ni, close eyes. At her order, he did so. Seconds became minutes and minutes became more. After a moment of silence, Kohaku spoke again. Ni, open. Naruto opened his eyes, and he regretted doing it. Before him is Kohaku but different. She is no longer beautiful. She no longer has hair as red as the color of blood. She is no longer Kohaku. Before him is a being of the imperial heavens themselves, one of the many kami that has roamed the celestial plains. Where Kohaku was standing is now a woman, still taller than him, dressed in a red and white glossy kimono, the ones that shrine priestess wear. Her hair was tied in a similar fashion like the woman standing who was standing on her place before, but the only difference being in color. Instead of bright red, her hair was like jade. Green and soft, not too dark and not too light. Draped on her shoulders are things akin to that of a scarf. It is a scarf, per se, but it's nothing like Naruto had ever seen. It wasn't even a material in the first place. The faint white glow that it radiates and the opaque feature that it has makes it something that is literally out of this world. Aside from her overall appearance, there is something else that changed. And that is, her face. Unlike Kohaku's soft and blank facade, her face radiates elegance, benevolence and warmth. She's like a living saint. But, is she? Before Naruto could even think more, her figure slowly dissipates, returning Kohaku to him. Mind still jumbled, Naruto could only ask groggily. Who was she? He asked the redhead. She's Kohaku. Taken aback, Naruto did not need to hide his surprise. That was you? But how? He received a nod in reply. Kohaku. God. Kohaku has 2 forms. So this one isn't your real form? Another nod. Naruto lets go of the redhead's hand, slowly slumping back behind onto his chair. The blonde was at loss, both for words and thoughts. First, he learned that Kohaku is a god. Second, she just proved it to him right here and there. And third, their ramen are now cold. On second thought, it was only his. Kohaku's bowl was empty before he could even notice it being there. Man, there's no punchline for this scene. Since he wasn't going to deal with the perverted sage anymore, he had to train on his own. Currently in his team's training ground, which is none other than Training Ground 7, he's busy doing physical exercise. It's nothing but, just a part of his daily light routine. But some might disagree to that. Apparently, some people didn't consider doing an hour run around the field non-stop and a couple hundred sets of push-ups and sit-ups as light. Not for him though. Body sweaty and muscles aching, Naruto panted like a dog that had gone through the entire village chasing the daimyo's wife's cat. Damn that abomination. Sheesh, he breathed out through opened mouth. I haven't been really practicing much and this happens? I might as well take some of Bushy Eyebrow's training session. He's just kidding, there's no way in hell a man would survive a day in that freak's so-called training session. Wiping the sweat pooling over his eyes, Naruto walked towards where he placed his bag to retrieve his towel. Let's see, running, check. Push-ups, check. Sit-ups, check. Chakra control exercise, check. He mentally checked his daily objectives in mind while wiping his face with the orange-colored towel he had. Phew, that's a nice stretch, now let's begin the real thing. I'm afraid not, Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto's head flicked towards the source of the voice. The young blonde grew alarmed at the sight of not one but two Anbu operatives standing before him. He dismissed the thought of not noticing their presence. They're ANBUs, they're supposed to be stealthy. Mentally calming himself down, Naruto set aside the towel into his bag. What can I do for you, Anbu-san? The Hokage has required your presence. Required? Not requested or demanded? That meant the old man needed the update on Kohaku now. Naruto nodded his head. Okay, I'll be done here in a second. The two ANBUs nodded, before disappearing into thin air just like the mysterious figures they were. Naruto shook his head, if only he knew that jutsu, but back to the matter at hand. He left Kohaku inside his house. He made sure that she got the right channel this time and overall, he won't have to worry about her going out on her own because he managed to make her promise that she'll be a good girl and stay at home. Picking up his bag, Naruto left the training ground. You want to talk to me, Ji-chan? The Sarutobi's eyes snapped open. His thin and wrinkled eyes greeted the boy to sit, to which said boy did. I do, Naruto-kun. The aged Cage looked the boy straight in the eye, making things official. So, how have my apologies, your guest doing? Naruto rolled both of his eyes at the slight hint of humor from the Cage. She's doing well, we had a little bit of talk earlier. Now this is the part where he needed to be careful. He didn't want to spill out too much nor doing the vice versa. He got to let out the right amount of information without getting caught lying. But this is the so-called professor himself in front of him. He had years of experience before him. Oh really? What did you talk about? There's a hinting gleam in the Cage's war-wrought eyes. Naruto made a casual expression, trying his best to look natural. Meh, nothing really. Just asking each about things like food, and what are her thoughts of Konoha. He shrugged both shoulders. And what did our newest girl said? She said that she likes the ramen that Tsuchijai made and that Ayame-ne is nice. Oh, she also finds your face on the monument similar. The aged Cage let out an amused chuckle, one that was common for people his age. Really now? The Ichirakus sure produce the finest ramen in Konoha. I know that you would take her out there to eat anytime soon. But I never thought that it would be this soon. The aged man shook his head. Naruto grinned. What can I say? I just have to spread the world's most delicious food to those who are new to it, right? She never had ramen before? Damn. Naruto's face nearly fell, nearly. He quickly replaced the stunned expression he had before with a sneaky one. I guess? I mean, she got the face of someone who'd never seen noodles in their life considering how she ate her ramen. There's no way she could have been able to finish a ramen that quick without slurping it all down. So, anything else to tell me, Naruto-kun? The aged Cage advanced the conversation. Let's see, oh yeah. Do you mind if you lend me some jutsu scrolls? The question the boy asked caused the aged Cage's eyebrows to rise by a centimeter. You see, since I don't plan on letting the pervert anywhere near me, and Kakashi-sensei's too busy with that prick to do anything other than recommending reliable instructors, I thought, why not ask the old man for some cool-ass techniques instead? Hiruzen leaned back on his chair, his hand stroking his gray beard in a thinking manner. The Cage finally came to a decision. Naruto-kun, before you ask me for some scrolls to borrow, do you even know your own nature affinity? A what? Thought so. A nature affinity. The old man then eyed the blonde with narrowed eyes. I'm sure that they taught you this in the academy. Naruto looked away. Hiruzen sighed. Anyway, a nature affinity is the natural element that each shinobi has. They are fire, wind, lightning, earth and water. An easy example would be Kakashi-kun. He has lightning element, and I'm sure that he has shown you this before? He received a nod in reply. How could Naruto forget it? He had from Sakura that Kakashi-sensei had electricity covering his arm during the battle in Wave. Thinking about it resulted in him remembering someone someone who had inspired to be who he is now. Haku, may you rest in peace. Continuing on, the method to check which nature affinity you have would be using these. Naruto's eyes were drawn over to the 4 pieces of paper that the cage had in between the slips of his wrinkly fingers. They are not like normal paper, they are darker, albeit brown instead of the usual blank white. Try channeling your chakra here. Hiruzen gave him one of the paper, to which he accepted with interest. Don't add too much chakra, or else the paper will be overloaded with whatever element you may have. And don't use too little, or else it won't work. Putting the old man's words in mind, Naruto held the paper close to him with eyes closed. He concentrated just a right amount of chakra into the paper, about half the amount that a shinobi would use to do tree walking. He then heard something ripping hard. I must say, I was not expecting it to be this. You sure are full of surprises, aren't you, Naruto-kun? Hiruzen wasn't expecting it. Which explains the smile he had on his face was natural. Opening his eyes, Naruto found that his paper was ripped to shreds. Literally. Did he put in too much chakra? But he doubted it. The old man sounded glad, so it can't be anything bad. And he rhymed again. So, how is it, Ji-chan? The blonde teen asked. Scratching the end of chin, Hiruzen hummed lowly. It is no doubt that you have an element at wind, a strong one at that. I sensed the amount of chakra you channeled, and it wasn't that much, yet it managed to cause the paper into shreds. Interesting, my boy. If my son Asuma was here, he'd be jealous, no doubt. Wait, Asuma-sensei is your son? Naruto asked, flabbergasted at the piece of information he just learned. Hiruzen returned the similar reaction, though more restrained. Do you not know of this? It should be obvious that he's my son. Our surnames are similar, no? Well, you two don't look alike, so, if Naruto was trying to defend himself for not know about this supposed to be known fact, then he's doing a poor job at it. Feeling pity at the young lad, Hiruzen laughed heartily and chose not to torment the boy further anymore. It's okay, Naruto-kun. I am well aware that my age is getting into me. The old wizened man admitted. But for as long as this old man can stand and fight, he will be Hokage of this village. Hey, not until I take the place from you though. Naruto's grin was challenging, it's a sign of a promise. Hiruzen smiled softly at the display of confidence from the blonde teen. You are still young, Naruto-kun. Use this time to learn all that you can, and I'm sure that you will be the best Hokage that Konoha could ever have. Even better than the previous ones. It's a natural thing to say, after all. The masters will be succeeded by the pupil. It is not a law that can be changed, nor can it be altered. Just as Hiruzen had surpasses the first and the second, he was surpassed by the fourth. But the fourth's death was something more than just a selfless sacrifice for this village. The man did something that he could have never thought of doing even in the most serious situation. Summoning a deity to seal the legendary Kyuubi no Kitsune is not something that one would do every day because of the price that the user must pay once doing it. Their life, basically. Well, I gotta go now, Ji-chan. I don't want to make Kohaku worry. Naruto hinted. Of course. See you, Naruto-kun. Oh, you are free to come to me tomorrow to grab the scrolls. Yeah, and with that, the boy stepped out from the door and outside of the room. Hiruzen dropped the smile that he had on earlier, letting his lips flat into a thin sheet. Kids these days, if they can't lie good enough, then they shouldn't have lied in the first place. He had to admit, the boy was putting up a pretty good act in front of him. It might even trick some of the trained Junins. But that is to be expected from Uzumaki Naruto. He is, after all, speaking of the boy who outrun Enbu Task Force Gamma in a rooftop chase in bright daylight. In that time, he couldn't even do any surface walking technique. Heck, he actually considered on signing him up for a private and special training. His old features showing his mood, Hiruzen dismissed the faraway look from his face. A Hokage should not only think of the past, but also the present and the future. Though the present may be the most important thing than the other two, it is still a must to consider the well-being for the future generation and to not forget the past sacrifices or deeds that was done to make Konoha what it is today. And so, for the well-being of Konoha and the citizens in it, Sarutobi Hiruzen, the third Hokage of Konohagakure no Sato, will put Uzumaki Naruto under extreme surveillance. It was not supposed to go this way, if only he had been more truthful. Hiruzen stood from his chair and looked out the window of his office, letting him view the evening scenery of Konoha's fragile and fleeting peace. I'm sorry, Naruto-kun. An apologetic expression crossed his face, a serious look quickly taking over it. You have all the reason in the world to hate me, but please try to forgive this senile old man for what he's about to do. Hiruzen knew that he is unforgivable. Harukaze Fubuki had always been a woman of many capabilities. The fact that she was now sitting on her spirit essence-made bench was one of the many proof to it. As a practitioner of the art of manipulation, spirit manipulation, emotion manipulation and things like illusion manipulation and the likes, creating a simple spirit-made bench is an easy thing to do. The wispy-colored bench that she's currently sitting on did not let out the usual creaking noise that a normal wooden one would make as she stood. Looking particularly at her daughter, Miyu, she has to say that her daughter had indeed grown taller over the past few months. A while back, she remembered her only reaching up to her shoulder level, but now she's at least near her neck level. It amused her to see the growth of her daughter, but most of all, she was mighty proud of her daughter. Or daughters. If there is another thing that Harukaze Fubuki was not good at, it will be parenting. Ever since her firstborn was born, Fubuki took care of her eldest only until she's about 8 or 9 years old, and the same thing is the same with the last two. Though they were raised like that, Fubuki knows that her daughters turned out fine. Even if the first two was not here right now, Miyu was the only one who would talk to her, more often than her sisters, which is why her relationship with the third daughter was the closest than the first two sisters. Said auburn ponytailed maiden was happily humming a small tune to herself as she stacked some flat stones on top of each other. May evil be smite. A sudden gust of wind just rushed through the area, bringing down the tower of stones that she had spent time stacking on. Is this unpleasing to Fujin-sama? The mother giggled at the sight of her daughter calling out the deity's name. I am not sure about that, daughter dearest, maybe you were not paying attention to your surroundings. Is it so? This daughter of yours sees, then, I shall continue. Again, it was amusing to see her daughter. But she wondered, what is her second eldest doing right now? Back in Konoha? Hello viewers. Today's program will show you some of the most wanted guys in the elemental nation. BZZT. Feudo. You will fall before me and my friends, because evil won't be victorious over justice. BZZT. Today's weather is BZZT. Kohaku was bored. No, she is bored. Ni, come back? Back with the story. I am sure that she is doing well. Who is doing well, mother dearest? Fubuki turned to her youngest daughter, surprised to know that she had found out about her small uttering. Her lips stretched, forming a small and tender smile. Your sisters, of course, daughter dearest. It is the duty of a mother to worry for her children, no? Indeed it is so. As expected, you are truly a loving mother. The ponytailed maiden beamed with a huge smile that is enough to rival a curved bow on her face. This Harukaze Miyu is truly blessed to be your daughter. Her daughter's words caused her smile to grow more sincere. She approached her daughter, placing a loving palm on the crown of her head as well as enveloping the shorter female in a hug. Thank you, daughter dearest. This mother loves you and your sister much, much more than you love her. She said, let us find your sister, okay? I am sure that you cannot wait to meet them. Indeed, the beautiful young maiden replied with extreme vigor. Fubuki knew that finding her daughters will not be an easy thing, especially when it comes to her eldest, Hinoka. She wondered, just where could her eldest be at this time of the year? Summer is in season and Hinoka was never the type to wander out when the sun is at its brightest and hottest. But when it comes to her second daughter, she knew where she is right now. In fact, she knew of a certain boy. And right now, she's glad to be able to meet said boy face to face. Back with Naruto, walking back home through the quiet and silent alleyways, Naruto Uzumaki pay no mind to the smell of rubbish and junk. I take it that you are just ignorant. Oh shut up, aren't you supposed to be sleeping right now? Naruto asked his inner tenant in a challenging manner. Though he's irked by the Kyuubi's smartass words, he's also glad to know that the big bad fox was not how he imagined it to be. PSH, anyway, about your elemental affinity, as you've witnessed in the monkey's office, is stronger. I made it stronger. Naruto nearly tripped. What? Why? The boy did not hesitate to ask bluntly, stopping his walk. Because I'm experimenting on something. You see, the moment you went to that shrine, where you meet the vixen, your body change. I don't know how, but it changed. Your chakra reserves, being big and incredibly hard to control, are expanding. In other words, it's getting bigger, yes, but it's also thinner, making it a little bit more fragile. The reason why I improved or boost up your elemental affinity is because it is the second to the easiest thing to boost instead of just supplying with my chakra. While I can just give you a little bit of my chakra, I don't want to take the chances of your entire system getting flooded with my chakra. And why's that? Idiot. Hey, think about it like this. If you have an incredibly potent chakra running through your system, what will happen to your chakra? The Kyuubi asked its host. Naruto began thinking, also resuming on his walk. My chakra will get replaced by your chakra? Hey, guess you can think after all. The Kyuubi then continued. Yes, you're right, your chakra will be dissolved with mine. And for a human, regardless of your Uzumaki bloodline, it's like having poison for blood. Naruto gulped hard. Then he remembered something. Wait, but the pervert told me to use chakra, didn't he? Then that old perv was trying to kill me all along. Well, not really. You see, it's bad if you are to be exposed to my chakra for a very long time. But if it's only for a certain amount of time, it's fine. It all depends on the person's endurance really, and how much guts he or she got. If Naruto could see the Kyuubi right now, he would see it shrugging. Guts? You mean I'll have to bear with the side effects? Not necessarily. You will have to bear with the uneasy sensation of having something much potent running through your chakra streams. After that you must deal with the second most important factor of using a Biju's chakra. That is emotion. The Kyuubi's voice dropped for a reason that is unknown to Naruto. We, the Biju, also represent personalities. Shukaku, insanity. Matabi, affection. Isobu, wisdom. Son Goku, courage. Kakuo, serenity. Seiken, peace. Chome, joy. Gyuki, loyalty. In me, hatred and rage. Naruto once again stopped dead on his tracks. Hatred, he whispered. Is that why I can't remember anything when I lost control with the Mizuki incident? He asked softly, still feeling flashbacks about the not-so-recent incident. Kind of, but back to the main point, it is no doubt that my kin are sealed in your fellow humans. As long as their container needs their chakra, they will also reflect what type of Biju that resides inside of them. For an example, you. Since you have me, a representation of hatred and rage in you, you will show uncontrollable rage and fury whenever you tap into my chakra. And I am sure you remember how it felt? Even if you can't quite remember how it went, the battle in the bridge. The Kyuubi left it hanging, letting its host to remember by himself. Naruto understood. He now knew why he felt the need to absolutely maim or hurt someone when he tapped or tried to use the fox's chakra. But, if you are a being of hatred and rage, then why aren't you, I don't know, hating right now? The Kyuubi did not answer. It, instead, got quiet. But a while later, it finally spoke. Just walk, brat, we will talk more later. Naruto could do anything other than to walk home with a lot of things in his mind. Kohaku, I'm Ho-Uwa. He was about to enter his apartment door, but suddenly, a strong pair of hands grabbed him by the arm, pulling him into the room as well as locking the door shut. Naruto found himself on the hard wooden floor of his apartment room, lying on his back with an extra weight on top of him. KK Kohaku? What are yo mmmph? Lucky son of a bitch? Words died the moment his lips were covered by a pair impressive ample bosom that, unfortunately, may as well be the death of him. But our blonde is not a man, boy, of words. No, he's a man of action. Instead of wishing or saying that he'll escape from this hold semi-hug semi-glomp, he'll force his way off from the grip like any man of action would. MMMPPHHH. But sadly, it's easier said than done. If it weren't for the fact that Kohaku had just shifted her left leg a little bit to the back, Naruto won't be able to slide his hand and push her by the shoulder. Finally getting a breathing chance, Naruto took all the air he could get before being glomped again by the redhead. Their little struggle continued until Naruto eventually surrendered and let the red hair hug him. Miss you, the red-haired maiden said while snuggling her face deeper into Naruto's jacket. I was only gone for 30 minutes for God's sake. Knowing that this is Kohaku, explaining things to her will be a hard thing to do. So, what did you do while I'm gone? TV. Naruto made an awkward face. I see, then, it's already quite late. Looking out the window, Naruto could see that the sky is dark already. If you want to take a shower, just tell me, I'll take you to the baths. But if you want to sleep directly, you can go and take my room. I'll sleep on the couch. No, why not? Naruto whined. Combined with the tiredness and fatigue from what has transpired today, he's not going to last any longer. Kohaku wants to be with me. She hugged him tighter. Naruto blinked before sighing. Kohaku, see, you can't expect me to do anything for you, yeah? Sometimes, you just have to do everything by yourself. Seeing that she's not budging, Naruto scratched the back of his head, confused and unsure of what to say. Fine, I'll make an exception this time. We'll watch some TV first, take a bath and, a brilliant idea struck him. Oh, why don't we go out and have tea? It's about time I show you some places that I haven't. Okay. Naruto smiled, feeling a warm sensation in him. Ni will bathe with Kohaku? And said sensation died. Hold, you are entering Konohagakure no Sato. For what purpose are you here for, traveler? These goddamn NPCs? What was that? Sorry, nothing, ahem. Dao giggled at her aunt's expert attempt to change the topic. The shorter women out of the two shuffled through the small knapsack she's carrying, pulling out an important-looking piece of paper. Here, I am a traveling doctor, or pharmacist, and my purpose here is to do some business. Dao just giggled some more at her aunt's blunt explanation. The flag jacket-wearing shinobi took the paper off from Chao's hand politely. He began reading the paper, and after a few seconds, he returned the paper to the shorter woman. Very well. You are permitted to enter Konohagakure no Sato. Please be safe and don't cause any trouble. There are some available inns and housing available for rent down the market district. If you are looking to sightsee, the locals should be able to point the way. Oh, and have a nice day. With that over, Chao re-entered her carriage and the horse carriage began moving forward into the village. Inside the passenger carriage, Chao was trying her best to not let out a sigh as it would only show her frustrations and age. Dao, however, simply sit on her place with a content smile on her face. I can't believe we are entering a Konoha auntie, I've never been here. Chao clicked her tongue along with giving her niece a roll of her eyes. HMPH, I could care less. But we are here to do business, so don't start on getting weird ideas. Peeking outside the carriage's window, Chao could see the various stands, shops and vendors that the busy street of Konoha has to offer. It's not what she expected it would be. She expected this place to be filled with shinobis jumping from roof to roof or maybe even some chatting on the street, but it turns out that she was wrong. Oh, Chao-sama, Chao-sama. Look. Rolling her eyes, Chao reluctantly followed where her niece was pointing at. Over the window was a small stand that sells all kinds of masks. From those fictional character masks to the more traditional ones, like a fox mask or even a kabuki mask. Aren't they wonderful? Dao sighed in what seemed to be pure bliss. Apparently, Chao's niece had an obsession with masks. Not commenting on her niece, Chao shook her head before staring off blankly to the carriage's roof. If the direction that the shinobi on duty earlier gave her, then she should be seeing some inns or hotels now. And true to the man's words, there was some available housing for rent or inns for her and her niece to stay. With Dao busy marveling on the beautiful scene of afternoon, Chao took the initiative to look around for a suitable temporary housing. The horse came to a stop on the side of the road, almost as if they knew when to stop despite not having someone to steer them. Chao and Dao both stepped out from the carriage with their packs behind them, though they still have some of their important luggage in the cart. Come on Dao, we will search for a place to stay and after that, we will explore the village and look for a place to sell our merchandise. Yes, auntie. Walking towards the direction of an inn that Chao saw not long ago, they entered the comfortable-looking inn. The lobby of the inn was not too big nor was it too large. A female clerk stood behind a desk, no doubt the one handling all the guests. The girl gave the two women a business smile, one that was not rare to see. Welcome, are you here to rent a room or just to visit the hot springs? She asked politely. The way she smiled with such well-hidden restraint was unappealing to Chao. But deciding not to comment, the shortest of the three female, including the clerk, spoke. We are here for a room. The clerk was surprised to see that the one that had spoken was the short girl instead of the tall and more mature-looking one. This irked Chao. I'm down here, now if a simple glare could kill, then the clerk would have been skeletons already. Yes, please. She took out something from under the desk or counter, revealing to be a key. Here is the key to your room, it's room number 5. Please enjoy your stay and payment will be done during your checkout. Meh. Apparently, Chow was not one for saying thank yous. Dao, get our luggage into our room. I am going to do some scouting and I'll probably be home late at night. She then handed the key to her niece carelessly. Here, the key. Without saying anything else, she left the inn, going outside to do what she was going to do. Wah. Auntie. That's not fair, Tilda. Chow ignored her niece's complaints and walked off uncaringly. She stopped a good distance from the inn to realize that she was hungry. The short woman looked around, noticing that there was a large selection of food and other treats to choose from. Her eyes then landed on a sign of a building. It looked like she'll be having tea and some sweets. Finally, Konoha. Fubuki smiled as she entered the large gates of Konoha. And apparently, her daughter was not hiding her excitement upon entering. She giggled when she saw her daughter, Miyu, staring wonderingly with amazement evident in her eyes at the sight of a mere bookstore. But she had to cut her daughter some slacks. She and her daughter never really visited hidden villages, much less conversing or going near to human societies. She saw Miyu at the distant, her daughter's yukata billowing at the night wind. Mother, come haste. The smile on Miyu's face could only be described as excited, since it was one of the emotions her daughter was showing to her. Other than that, there's happiness, interest, curiosity and amazement. Fubuki giggled politely to the sleeves of her yukata. Looking around, a faraway look crossed her face. Konoha, it has been a long time since I've been here. Her words were carried to the winds, not reaching anybody. She might just look like an old woman muttering to herself, but in truth, she was recalling her memories. I wonder, has he forgotten me? Well, there's only one way to find out. But not after securing temporary housing for her and her daughter, of course. The mother and daughter pair quickly searched for an affordable and acceptable inn. The facilities were nice and it was located in the middle of the market district, a pretty convenient place. Her daughter Miyu loved to see people in the happy atmosphere that the busy night street of Konoha was currently radiating. After finished checking into the inn, they decided to explore the streets for a place to have tea. Their search for a tea house did not last long. They found a suitable tea house for them to rest and enjoy some snacks. The doorbell jingled when Fubuki gently pushed open the door. The mother and daughter pair took the nearest seat near the door, where they sat Caesar style due to it being a traditional tea house. Fubuki looked around the not-so-busy tea house. And she noticed something from the corner of her eyes. No, she noticed someone. The sound of a ceramic cup dropping and breaking in the process rung clear through the entire cafe, causing everything to transform into silence. Fubuki blinked thrice, making sure if her vision wasn't following her age. The loli who was standing upright with a shell-shocked expression on her face was doing the same thing. She was making sure if her eyes wasn't following her age too. Fubuki? Chow? Crane? Phew, hey Kohaku, why don't we eat here for a… Words died in the speaker's mouth when said speaker noticed the uncomfortable and unusual atmosphere that surrounded the tea house. A pair of azure blue eyes blinked twice, doing a reality check if he's not stepping into a place where he wasn't supposed to. I guess I'll come later. But it seemed that the beautiful maiden beside him disagreed with his poor decision. She held his shoulders tightly, and due to her being superior in height, he was kept unmoving. A pair of pink eyes blinked, her stoic expression accompanied her silent nature. Kohaku glanced upon the short loli who was facing the tall buxom woman. Then her focus flicked to the tall buxom woman who was staring at the short loli. Her eyes then looked down to her knee. Let's go. Yeah, sure. They turned to leave. Wait a freaking moment. The outburst came from the short loli who had focused her attention on the redhead and blonde pair. You two. Why the hell did everything get uncomfortable when you two entered? Naruto wasn't afraid to reply in the same manner. Confused and angry. But most of all, he's in for the Tsukomi. How the fuck should I know? Kohaku, for once, looked uncomfortable. The tall and buxom woman watching the scene, smiled. With her right hand placed on her right cheek, she made an eye smile that would do a certain silver-haired scarecrow proud. Ooh, mother, they have daifukus here. And so, the night started out, noisily.
That's all for now. If you enjoy this video, then please like, share and do comments.